Chapter 4207. Zi-Chun looked at Lu Zhen. What is it? There are some people that I'd like to trouble you to use your identity as a spirit to deal with. This involves some conflicts of interest, so we can't do anything directly. Lu Zhen said, using the identity of the spirit race is the best. But I'm worried that they don't have the strength, so I hope you can help. Zi-Chun said, before that, can you tell me what you've been up to recently? This was the main reason why Zi-Chun had come to the Devil Realm. He had come with a mission. You really want to know? Lu Zhen looked at Zi-Chun. You think I'm joking with you? Zi-Chun asked. Lu Zhen said, seriously, that's the biggest secret of the Devil Realm in recent years, and it's also the biggest matter. If an outsider dares to inquire about it, their life will be in danger. Just get to the point. No matter how much you try to scare me or beat around the bush, I won't give you any extra benefits. Zi-Chun's words cut off all of Lu Zhen's thoughts. Lu Zhen said helplessly, fine. It's actually a place of opportunity. That's it. Zi-Chun clearly didn't believe him. Lu Chan's expression turned solemn. To be more precise, they found a passageway left behind by the experts of the spirit race who had slaughtered their way into this place many years ago. Originally, they had hoped to use this passageway to leave after crippling the devil race. However, for some unknown reason, the passageway was unable to open, and the experts of the spirit race were unable to leave. Over the years, the Devil Realm believed that they had become stronger, so they tried many methods to kill their way into the spirit realm, but they all failed. This time, however, they were the closest to success they had ever come. Because according to the news, the transportation formation is still intact. But too many experts died there, including both spirit and Devil Realm experts. Over the years, some strange changes have occurred there, and there is great danger. The Devil Realm is currently carefully investigating, but they haven't sent an army there yet. So it was his destination. Zi-Chun's heart jumped, but he didn't show it on his face. You seem to know a lot. Did you deliberately investigate? We are the Devil Serpent Guard, and we specialize in dealing with the spirit race. Now that we've discovered a passage to the spirit race, we should be the ones to handle it. Lu Zhen paused for a moment before continuing. It's just that during this process there were some different opinions, so we received a certain amount of pressure. Zi-Chun said, so you want my help to eliminate these voices so that you can smoothly obtain this opportunity? Lu Zhen glanced at Zi-Chun and said, that's right. It's because we also have quite a bit of internal competition. If we want to obtain this opportunity smoothly, we naturally need to make some arrangements. Zi-Chun said, there's danger inside, but you guys are so active. It seems that it's not just dangerous. Lu Zhen said, because as long as the passage is opened, it will be a great achievement. There will naturally be many benefits. Zi-Chun stared at Lu Zhen and sneered. No matter how great the benefits are, can it compare to the benefits of catching traitors? Lu Zhen was a bit embarrassed by Zi-Chun's stare. He scratched his head and said, to tell you the truth, according to the information I received, besides the most important passage, there are other opportunities. Not only the demon race, but also the spirit race. After all, the experts of the two races fought a great battle there. This time, Lu Zhen didn't try to hide anything. He told him everything he knew. Zi-Chun thought for a moment, then said, if you want me to help you, I can. But after this is done, I need a spot to enter. If it's just a spot, then that's not a problem. Lu Zhen nodded. He didn't think for a long time before agreeing. Because if he wanted to succeed in addition to the strength of the spirit race, he also needed to borrow this person's strength. When the two sides reached an agreement, old Blindy returned. Under normal circumstances, no one would discover what old Blindy couldn't. Seeing Lu Zhen here, he didn't say anything. Because he had talked to Zi-Chun before, he had already accepted the cooperation between him and Lu Zhen. The resources Lu Zhen gave were very impressive. Not only did he not lower the price, but he also gave more resources. According to Lu Zhen, The extra resources were because of the pure power of the demon race. After that, Lu Zhan left a message and a list of names for Ziqin to deal with as soon as possible. Coincidentally, one of them was in this city. This person was a vice commander of the Demon Snake Guard. He was very famous in the Demon Snake Guard, but he was very notorious in the spirit race. Part of the reason Old Blindy came here this time was because of this person. After Old Blindy saw the list, he said, "This matter needs to be discussed. I hope that by killing this person, we can intimidate the small fry in this city and let the other spirit race people live better lives." Scram! All of you scram! You bastards, don't you have eyes? You dare to startle my master's precious steed? Do you believe that you won't be able to keep your head? All of you who are worse than bastards, scram further away from me. Even though they were separated by a street, they could hear such a huge commotion. That was the people of the Demon Edge Mansion coming out. Everywhere they passed, there was chaos. The one in the lead was a demon with an impure bloodline. He had just become a one-star Holy Spirit. He was riding on a strange beast and galloping over. Behind him was a small group of fully armed demons. In the middle of the group was an ownerless strange beast from the Devil Realm. Behind the strange beast was a carriage, and inside the carriage sat a demon race girl. The leader of the demon race was cursing as he moved forward. Once someone was not fast enough to dodge, they would be swept away by the opponent's energy or kicked away by the strange beast. Many of them were injured and some died. Seeing the scene, the girl did not stop them. Instead, she laughed happily. In this Demon Edge city, the Demon Edge Mansion style was even better than the City Lord Mansion. No one dared to complain, because the Demon Edge Mansion was a big surname in the Demon Realm, and the owner of the Demon Edge Mansion, Mo Lung Kuei, was a deputy commander. Therefore, everyone in the Demon Edge Mansion was particularly arrogant in this city. They swaggered out of the city. Everywhere they passed, there was chaos, but no one dared to resist. Ziqin stood on top of the city wall and silently watched the departing group. He had already investigated for several days and was already clear about the nature of the Demon Edge Mansion. These people deserved to die. At this moment, the demon race that left the city was charging at the passers-by who were about to enter the city. Almost all of them were spirit race people who came here to do some small business to make a living. At this moment, those things were scattered everywhere. The Demon Edge Mansion's owner was laughing heartily, completely oblivious to the helpless and sorrowful eyes of those people. Ziqin gently waved his hand, and a talisman paper disappeared into the void. Saint Talisman. Thunder rumbled in the sky as several dazzling rays of light descended from the sky. Accompanied by the sound of thunder, the group of existences who had been flaunting their prowess earlier fell down one after another. The people were dead, but the strange beasts were still alive. However, they were no longer as imposing as before, hiding and shivering. Such a scene shocked the passers-by who were running away in panic. When they realized that these people were all dead, they all sighed with emotion. Some even knelt on the ground, exclaiming that the heavens had eyes. No one knew where these thunderbolts came from. Ziqin jumped down the city wall and headed straight for the Demon Edge Mansion. He entered the mansion with killing intent. "Who's there?" A loud shout sounded. It was the guards of the Demon Edge Mansion who had discovered Ziqin who had barged in. Ziqin ignored them. Spirit race people appeared one after another beside him. These spirit race people were all saint spirits, and they directly charged forward. Ziqin did not even need to do anything. Everywhere he passed, the demon race people fell one after another. This was a complete suppression of the realm. Ziqin had brought almost all the experts from the previous city. Ziqin himself walked towards the residence of the vice commander because Lu Zhen had given him accurate information that the vice commander Mo Lung Kuei had returned and was in this mansion. The continuous screams alarmed the vice commander. He walked out of the room and flew up. Standing in the air, he saw everything that had happened in the mansion. He immediately roared, How dare you, spirit race people, break into the Demon Edge mansion? Quickly activate the killing array. I will not let you bastards return. This roar almost spread throughout the entire city. A ray of light shone above the mansion, as if to form a formation. The demon race's city was a killing array in itself. When the city lord was in the city, his battle strength would be greatly increased, just like when old Blindee was in the spirit race's city. Moreover, there was a clear rule in the demon race that other offensive formations were not allowed in the city, because it would affect the operation of the formation of the entire city. The Demon Edge family was, of course, an accident. Because the city lord did not have the guts to interfere, he could only turn a blind eye. As soon as the formation was activated, a thunderbolt fell from the sky. It was similar to the previous thunderbolt, but much stronger. When the lightning fell, the Mo Lung family's grand formation collapsed. Seeing this, Mo Lung Kuei's expression changed greatly. Obviously, a strong enemy had come. He knew that things were not good. Where is the city lord? The spirit race has killed their way into the city. Why didn't you activate the formation? Mo Lung Kuei's cold voice spread throughout the city again. Although he had always disliked the city lord, he knew that if he wanted to solve this problem, he had to use the formation of the city. At this moment, another thunderbolt fell, striking down Mo Lung Kuei, who was in the air. Mo Lung Kuei fell to the ground without any signs of life. At this moment, many people had gathered outside the Demon Edge mansion. Hearing the screams from inside, no one dared to come and help, because even the Vice Commander Mo Lung Kuei was dead, let alone them. The screams didn't last long. Buzz! The formation of the city was finally activated, covering the entire city in an instant. At this moment, the city was sealed, and no one could enter or leave. Even the teleportation formation in the city could not be used. Kill the bastards! The city lord's voice rang out, and he led his team to kill. It turned out that he was gathering his team. Chapter 4208. Kill! Don't let a single thief escape. The city lord's angry voice spread through the entire city. The army began to move. At the same time, the killing array in the sky was activated. Killing intent filled every corner of the city. Many spirit race people began to be on edge. They were very worried about their fellow spirit race people who had killed their way into the Mo Lung mansion. The Mo Lung mansion suddenly became quiet. It was dead silent. The army of the city came and surrounded the mansion. The city lord looked at the closed door in front of him. His eyes flashed with a cold smile. After a slight pause, he waved his hand and said, "Kill!" Everyone charged in from all directions. There was a formation in the sky that was protecting them, but then there was an uproar, because other than some corpses, there was no one else in the mansion. Many corpses were gone. Even the spirit race people were gone. The wealth in Mo Lung Kuei's mansion was also plundered. Damn Mo Lung Kuei. He actually set up a teleportation array. The thief has already used it to escape. After a moment, the city lord's angry voice came from the mansion. There was a rule in the demon race that no one was allowed to set up a teleportation array in the city. Even more so, they could not ignore the city's killing array. Obviously, Mo Lung Kuei had violated this rule. The city lord returned angrily. He only said to deal with the aftermath. After he returned and closed the door, he finally laughed out loud. After years of suppression, he was liberated. If not for the fact that the Mo Lung family was still very big, the city lord at this moment would have silently ordered to hunt down the remaining members of the Mo Lung family and seize their property. Zi Chen smoothly arrived outside the city. The teleportation array in Mo Lung Kuei's mansion was no longer a secret to him. Lu Zhen gave him accurate information. Old Blind also carefully checked it, including the city lord's attitude. From the beginning, this teleportation array was in the plan. Everyone else returned to Zi Chen's palace. At this moment, they gathered together and were very excited. In the past, they only fought small fights and killed some ordinary demon race people. But today, they attacked a deputy commander's mansion and won a great victory. Not a single spirit race person died. Only 2 unlucky ones were injured. One of them was Mo Fong. After the crazy battle, he became very weak. He did not retreat in time and was attacked by a sword. At this moment, Mo Fong was sitting cross-legged on the side. He chuckled and said, "Delightful, truly delightful. Those demons are usually so arrogant and don't treat the spirit race as human beings. But in front of grandfather today, aren't they still scared witless? It's not because of you." Yuan Hai said lightly, "If we really want to talk about happiness, it's all thanks to Master Mo-chin. If not for master killing Mo Ling Kue, I'm afraid none of us would be alive." Yuan Hai sized up crazy Mo a few times. "Moreover, if you want to continue to enjoy yourself, then quickly recover, because in a few days there will be a similar battle." It's said that this time it's a 9-star commander. Mo Feng's eyes lit up. The expressions of the other people beside him also became excited. Among the demonic snake guards, the commanders were recognized as the highest leaders. Moreover, every commander was a 9-star saint spirit. Not only did they have to reach the required level, but they also had to reach the required level of contribution. However, above 9 stars were holy venerates. Those commanders were under the Lord's control. At this moment, 5 holy venerates were sitting together, except for one holy venerate whose expression could be considered indifferent. The other holy venerate's expressions were not so good. "You 4 called me over. Do you have something important to discuss?" That holy venerate with an indifferent expression asked. "Mo Wuda, you know very well what you've done. Do you still need us to say it?" One of them said indifferently. "What do you mean?" Mo Wuda asked doubtfully. "How many of our people have you killed in this period of time? Don't you know?" Another person rebuked. Mo Wuda said unhappily, "Brother Ji, you can't speak carelessly. In any case, I'm still a holy venerate. You're slandering a holy venerate for willfully killing innocent people. What kind of crime is that?" Looking at their unsightly expressions, Mo Wuda said, "As for what you're all confused about, I more or less know a thing or two, but I don't know the specifics. How about this? I have a subordinate coming to report this matter. You can all listen." A moment later, Lu Zhan walked in. He first saluted the holy venerates, then said, "Reporting to Lord, the matter has been investigated clearly. The battle at Mo City that day was initiated by Mo Ji Feiwen and Mo Yan Haoguang, 2 vice commanders. They wanted to use a remnant as bait to completely eradicate the spirit race. During that time, there were several vice commanders and 4 commanders in the dark. However, the spirit race seemed to have been prepared. It could be considered a trap within a trap, causing the demon snake guards to be completely wiped out. The spirit race was bold. They killed their way into Vice Commander Mo Ling Kue's residence. According to the information we received, Vice Commander Mo Ling Kue did not immediately ask for the city Lord's help. Instead, he used the formation in the residence. This indirectly caused the city Lord to be unable to open the formation immediately. When the formation in the residence was destroyed, the city Lord activated the killing formation again to seal the spirit race. However, the spirit race used the teleportation formation in Mo Ling Kue's residence to escape. Commander Mo Ji Feishan died in the residence. According to the clues we received, he was retaliated against by a certain spirit race. According to the witnesses, the commander intentionally killed the other party's entire clan and stole all their resources. Then he used the head of the spirit race's clansmen as a reward. You are talking nonsense. How could our MOG clan do such a thing? Before Lu Zhan could finish, a holy venerate angrily rebuked. Lu Zhan calmly said, "Lord, please calm down. We are still investigating this matter thoroughly. Moreover, we have already found some witnesses from that year. If Commander Feishan was wrongly accused, We will definitely give him justice." The Holy Venerate's expression changed. Then he stared at Emo Wuda. "Emo Wuda, Emo Wuda. You really live up to your name. You really are Wuda." The Holy Venerate named Emo Yen mocked. "How did our demon snake guard develop? Don't you know? What? Now you are looking for shit from other people's butts. Why don't you look at your own butts first?" Emo Wuda smiled faintly and said, "Lu Zhen." Yes, Lu Zhen cupped his fist. Emo Wuda said, "From now on, I will give you the greatest authority. Thoroughly investigate the matter of false contributions. If there is anyone with false contributions or deceit, kill them without mercy. Remember, kill without mercy." Lu Zhen accepts the order. The other Holy Venerate's expressions all changed. Emo Wu decupped his fist and said, "After my people have thoroughly investigated, I will report it to the higher-ups. Please issue an order to thoroughly investigate the Demon Snake Guard." Emo Wu's expression suddenly became cold. He said, "The Demon Snake Guard exists to kill the true spirit race. They are the remnants of the spirit race that are harmful to us, not those who have contributed to the development of the Devil Realm. Killing innocent people and using them as your own contribution is deceiving the entire Devil Realm. You are courting death." The Holy Venerates looked at each other, and their expressions began to change. They knew their people very well. Most of the time, they were just muddling along. As for the complaints of the spirit race, who would care? But now, if they really let Emo Wuda investigate, he would suffer great losses. How could he let them go? It was fine if he didn't investigate, but once he did, there would be problems. Maybe the Demon Snake Guard would carry out a big purge, and how many subordinates could they protect? Suddenly, the surroundings became quiet. Lu Zhen continued, "The death of Commander Mo Yanhaiyang is said to be related to this matter. The commander of the Mo Lu family wanted to take the resources when he was trading with the spirit race. In the end, the two sides lost the battle and were killed. The commander of the Mo Lu family was killed by the spirit race because of his conduct. Everything that Lu Zhen said was reasonable and well-founded, and some of them had been investigated clearly. The Holy Venerate's expressions were ugly, but they didn't say anything, until Lu Zhen said more than 20 things, which meant that dozens of commanders and deputy commanders had been killed by the spirit race. Emo Wu said bitterly, "Did you hear it? Did you all hear it? Although these things have their own reasons, they were all done by the spirit race. Over the years, the Demon Snake Guard has been performing meritorious deeds. They killed group after group of remnants, and even the remnants of clans. But the result? When they attacked, dozens of commanders were killed. Now, I seriously doubt the ability of our Demon Snake Guard's commanders. The spirit race's strength today is all because of their inaction. It's all because they took innocent spirit race members to make up the numbers, which led to the real remnants to grow in secret. Which are the real meritorious deeds, and which are the fake ones? This matter must be thoroughly investigated. Otherwise, the Demon Snake Guard will really be in chaos." The 4 Holy Venerates were still silent. Emo Wu waved his hand and said, "You can go first." "Yes." Lu Zhen clasped his fist and said, "I will thoroughly investigate this matter and wipe out all the vermin in the Demon Snake Guard." The 4 Holy Venerates' expressions changed again. Emo Wu waved his hand and said, "Wait for my order." Lu Zhen walked out of the reception room. He was still in a good mood. This cooperation with Emo Chin had really benefited him a lot. Not to mention other things. After cutting off some of the Holy Venerates' wings, their side strength had obviously increased a lot. Without capable subordinates, those Holy Venerates could only be Holy Venerates. There were many things that they couldn't do personally, and today's show was very beautiful. Next, they just had to wait for the Holy Venerates' arrangements. As long as they could smoothly take over that land of opportunity, it would be another great merit. Maybe they could even use this opportunity to reach the Holy Venerate realm. Even if they couldn't reach the Holy Venerate realm, it would be a great thing to step into the half-step Holy Venerate realm. If it was in the past, Lu Zhan wouldn't even dare to think about it. Because he wasn't a demon, the purity of his power was limited. But it was different this time. With the power given by Mo Chen, he was confident. Not long after, Holy Venerate Mo Wu de walked out alone. The other Holy Venerates had obviously left. After taking the initiative and taking half a step back, it was naturally time to pursue benefits. Congratulations, Lord. Lu Zhen clasped his fist. Where did the joy come from? Mo Wu de asked. There was a faint smile on his face. It was obvious that he was in a good mood. Smoothly taking over that land of opportunity is naturally a great joy, Lu Zhen said. Who said we're going to take over that place? Mo Wu de asked. Isn't what you're doing for that area, Lord? It's just that the Holy Venerates got this opportunity. Not to mention the exploration. As long as they can open the final passage, it will be a great merit, Lu Zhen said. You're just too shallow. It does look like you're going to make a great contribution. But have you thought about what would happen if you failed? Mo Wu de said, this time I took the initiative to give them the opportunity. Of course, our people can still go in. When the time comes, you can bring some capable subordinates in. Don't feel burdened. It's purely for the sake of the opportunity. As for the success or failure of the mission, it has nothing to do with you. Of course, if you can help a little along the way and make them busier, it's still okay. It's best if you can do it without being noticed by others and ruin the plan. Mo Wu de pointed at his feet and said, as for us, the most important thing is still the demon snake guard. This time, the spirit tribe has brought a great deal of attention. It will definitely lead to a purge. At the same time, the higher-ups will definitely give us a lot of resources to grow. Lu Zhen quickly recovered. If they took all the resources, the demon snake guard would naturally be the strongest in the future. If those people were to fail, the demon snake guard would become the sole dominant force in the future. Lu Zhen, who understood the Holy Venerate's meaning, nodded. I heard that some of your strange friends from the demon clan are not weak. You can secretly take him in to have a look. Maybe there will be some unexpected gains. Of course, the gains will be his, but he has to help your friend, right? Mo Wu de smiled and left. Don't worry, Lord. Lu Zhen will do his best. In the room, in Zichen's sea of knowledge, soul power was surging, constantly trying to rush to his eyes. He was trying to comprehend the demon eye. He tried again and again, but to no avail. This technique was somewhat difficult. Zichen had been trying to comprehend it for a long time, but he still could not master it. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Zichen said, "Come in." Lu Zhen pushed the door open and entered. When he saw Zichen, the moment their eyes met, Lu Zhen's face suddenly turned pale, and his eyes lost their light. His body swayed, and he almost fell down. "What's wrong?" Zichen stood up and looked at him. Lu Zhen shook his head and woke up. He found that his whole body was drenched in cold sweat. "What's wrong with your eyes?" "Just now I felt the aura of death." Lu Zhen's eyes were filled with fear. Zichen took out the demon eye and said, "I'm currently trying to comprehend it. Do you want to try?" Lu Zhen picked it up and looked at it carefully. After a moment, his expression changed. "Is there a problem?" Zichen asked. "This might be the legendary demon god's eye," Lu Zhen said. "Demon snake's eye?" Zichen asked. "Is it something of your demon snake guard?" "The demon god's eye is a technique of the demon god," Lu Zhen said. "Isn't the demon god a legend? It doesn't really exist." This was what Zichen heard from the old blind man. The demon god is a legend, but the techniques of the demon god are real. For example, the demon god's eye is said to be the strongest eye technique in the demon world. In addition, there are demon god beasts, which also exist. It's just that there are no longer pure bloodlines in the world. They are all descendants of demon god beasts. Lu Zhen said, and this demon eye is somewhat similar to the demon god's eye in the records. Chapter 4209. The demon god's eye was extremely famous in the devil world because it was in existence infinitely close to a demon god. It was said that it had been left behind by a demon god. Other than the demon god's eye, there were only the demon god beasts in the devil world. No one had ever seen a true demon god beast, but its descendants still existed, and there were quite a few of them. It's just a bit similar, but I can't say for sure. "Where did you get this technique?" asked Lu Zhen. Chin explained how he had obtained the demon god's eye. It seems that Mo Jingchuan guessed how precious it was, so he kept it. If this is the real demon god's eye, then it will be extremely difficult to comprehend it. Mo Jingchuan must have tried and failed, or he wouldn't have sealed it away. Lu Zhen sighed. "At the very least, I won't have the chance." "Why not?" asked Chin. "Only true devils can comprehend the demon god's eye. I still have a long way to go before I can become a true devil." Lu Zhen sighed. "Right. I've already dealt with everything from last time. This time, I brought back some good stuff." Lu Zhen took out a few techniques, and they were all techniques that the spirit race could use. As a member of the Devil Snake Guard who dealt with the spirit race, Chin didn't find it strange that Lu Zhen would take them out. He was just curious as to why Lu Zhen would take them out. After all, these things were strictly controlled, and they were prohibited from being traded. "It's a rubbing, not the real thing." Lu Zhen smiled. During this chaos, the Devil Snake Guard obtained quite a few resources as a reward. Naturally, they had to give the spirit race some benefits as well. If the spirit race's strength can't keep up with the Devil Snake Guard's growth, then they'll be destroyed in the end. Chin shook his head. "No, that's definitely not the reason." When Chin had arrived, he had purposely tidied up his things. Most of his useless things had been left behind in the martial heaven continent. That was why he wanted to help the spirit race and give them some techniques, but he didn't have the ability. The techniques Lu Zhen took out were worthless to the devil race, but to the spirit race, they were priceless treasures. Chen had no reason to refuse, but he didn't believe Lu Zhen's excuse. "It seems I can't hide anything from you." Lu Zhen laughed bitterly and said, "We've obtained the authority to enter that area. We can also give you one of the spots as originally agreed, but you have to help us do some things." "What is it?" Chin asked. Lu Zhen said, "It is to destroy the plan to invade the spirit realm as much as possible." "Why?" Chin didn't understand. The invasion of the demon race into the spiritual realm was a major event. This involves some matters regarding the Devil Snake Guards, so it's not convenient to reveal them. This is also my only request. Of course, in a few days, I will send over some techniques that are suitable for the spirit race. Once this is done, I promise that the spirit race will receive even more benefits. Chen had no reason to refuse such a request. After all, this was his mission. The two of them hit it off and agreed on the time when the second batch of resources would be delivered, as well as the time to enter the teleportation portal. During this time, Chan made a small request, which was to secretly send him in without anyone noticing. Lu Zhen immediately understood Chen's meaning, and his eyes were filled with gratitude. Chen didn't want to be a burden to him. Because the demon race's plan had been destroyed, the demon race was bound to investigate to the end, and they might even find him. Once the evidence was conclusive, he would die without a doubt. No one would be able to save him, unless the legendary demon god appeared. "This shouldn't be a problem," Lu Zhen said. "Before it opens, I will find a way to do it without anyone noticing." Chen asked, "Only sacred spirits?" "Yes, only sacred spirits. That is the place where a sacred venerate fell, and it is full of all kinds of unstable power. If a sacred venerate were to enter, it might cause some kind of change, so only sacred spirits would enter." Lu Zhen said goodbye and left. Before entering that area, he still had many things to take care of. Not long after, old Blindi returned, and Zichen gave him all the techniques and resources he had obtained. Recently, under Zichen's leadership, the spirit race had killed many commanders and vice-commanders, which had served as a deterrent in many cities. In addition, news of the demon snake guard's huge losses had spread everywhere, causing the demon race in other cities to panic. They were always worried that the spirit race would come and kill them. As a result, the lives of the spirit race in the cities improved greatly. At the same time, the spirit race, led by Old Blindi, had also benefited greatly. After all, every commander was very wealthy. After trading with Lu Zhen, many of them had broken through with the help of many spirit race resources. Seeing these spirit race techniques, Old Blindi's expression became very excited. Zichen said, "Lu Zhen told me before that he would give me a spot. Once I complete the mission, I will leave." Old Blindi was stunned, and his excited expression gradually calmed down. "Yes, I almost forgot about that. Regardless of whether I complete the mission or fail, I will return to the Saint Spirit realm." Zichen looked at Old Blindi and said, "If you are willing, I would like to take all of you with me." It was very difficult for the spirit race to live here, so Zichen decided to help as much as he could. He decided to take all of Old Blindi's spirit race people with him. "Just us?" Old Blindi asked. Zichen said helplessly, "Let's not talk about the limited space. Even if I could take everyone with me, I wouldn't dare." There were disputes among the demon race, but so were the spirit race. Zichen had come here to destroy the demon race's invasion plan. Once he took all of the spirit race people with him. Even if he didn't succeed, if a traitor were to appear among these spirit race people and collude with the demon race in the Saint Spirit realm, the losses would be great. And besides that, where would he put everyone after he took them with him? They considered themselves to be spirit race people, but how could the Saint Spirit realm's spirit race people recognize them? They were willing to take Old Blindi's people because they had followed Old Blindi since they were young. They were trustworthy. Old Blindi shook his head and said, "Forget it. Once we leave, the spirit race people will be in an even worse situation. If we stay, although we won't be able to overthrow the demon race's control, we'll still be able to intimidate them. That's fine too. After a while, Lu Zhen will send some resources over, including spirit skills. If there are any suitable ones, distribute them for everyone to cultivate. No matter the time, powerful combat power is the foundation of everything." Zichen warned, "Also, we've been too ruthless recently, causing the demon snake guard to suffer great losses. The intimidating effect has also played a role. So for a long time, let's not attack the demon race again. Let's first recuperate and become stronger." Old Blindi nodded. Zichen's contributions were the biggest reason why things had gone so smoothly. However, they could not ignore the internal strife within the demon snake guard, which allowed them to take advantage of this loophole. If this situation continued and they truly angered the higher-ups of the demon snake guard, then the demon snake guard might purge the entire spirit race. At that time, the losses would truly outweigh the gains. That very day, Old Blindi arranged for everyone to return to prevent the demon race from finding any clues. He stayed behind to wait for the last batch of resources. Zichen remained in the city, waiting for Lu Zhen's news. 3 days later, Lu Zhen came to find Zichen. His expression was not very good, and he sighed as soon as he entered the door. "What's wrong?" Zichen asked. Lu Zhen said, "The situation has changed. There was a major discovery in that area." Zichen asked curiously, "What kind of discovery?" "Someone has concluded that there may be remnants left behind by the demon god there," Lu Zhen said. "Demon god?" Zichen was taken aback. "Isn't that just a legend?" "It has always been a legend, but this time someone seems to have come to an accurate conclusion that there are remnants left behind by the demon god there." Lu Zhen's expression was ugly. After the news spread, the higher-ups of the demon race were in an uproar. They tried to send people in to find some good things. Zi Chen did not understand. Wasn't that left behind by the spirit race? Wasn't there a teleportation formation to leave? How is it related to the demon god? Lu Zhen said, there is a saying among the higher-ups that the spirit race's army had killed countless powerful demon race warriors. At that time, the spirit race was almost invincible, and it was extremely easy for them to retreat. But just as they were about to leave, the demon god appeared and stopped them. After the demon god used his great power to kill all of the spirit race, he left behind remnants there for later generations to explore and open up a path to the spirit race. Then, they could enter the spirit realm to seek justice. Do you believe that? Zi Chen asked. Lu Jin smiled bitterly. It doesn't matter if I don't believe it. The key is that the other demons believe it. Although the overall situation is still under the control of the demon snake guards, there are many more people. The Saint Venerables, who originally had no interest in that place, have all started to pay attention to that place. Zi Chen said, so what? Can they still go in? Lu Jin said helplessly, that is the crux of the problem. The Saint Venerables cannot go in. But if they work together, they might be able to open up a special path to send a half-step Saint Venerable in. With a half-step Saint Venerable in charge, it will be very difficult for our plan to succeed. Zi Chen did not expect that Lu Zhen would still want to sabotage his plan at this time. It seemed that he was even more concerned than him, a spirit race member. Don't you also have a Saint Venerable behind you? You can have your Holy Venerables send out half-step Saint Venerables as well. Wouldn't that work? Zi Chen said with a smile. Before coming here, Zi Chen had asked Cheng how about half-step Saint Venerables. The other party had told him that half-step Saint Venerables were existences who were already on the path of Saint Venerables. They were just slightly further ahead than 9-star Holy Spirits. According to what Cheng Ho had said, that path was for fools without potential. It was equivalent to walking on a fork in the road. If one wanted to walk back, it would be very difficult. Furthermore, Cheng Ho had said that not everyone had to become a half-step Saint Venerable. However, once one became a half-step Saint Venerable, it would be like stepping into a quagmire. It would be very difficult to pull one's foot out of it. Back then, Cheng Ho had asked Zi Chen if he had ever seen a half-step Saint Venerable walking around. Zi Chen shook his head, indicating that he had not. Cheng Ho had laughed at that time. Of course, that was because they were all in the quagmire, thinking about how to get out. Back then, Cheng Ho had said very clearly that there was no need to be afraid of half-step Saint Venerables. Mo Chin? Lu Zhen called out when he saw that Zi Chen was absent-minded. Zi Chen came back to his senses and said, "Oh, please continue." Lu Zhen clapped his hands and said helplessly, "My brother Mo Chin, I have said what I should say. What else do you want me to continue? Now it's your turn to speak. What should we do next?" Zi Chen said, "You know my strength. I can barely deal with a 9-star Holy Spirit. However, fighting a half-step Saint Venerable is like courting death. Do I look like I am courting death?" Lu Zhen said bitterly, "Even you say so. It seems that I am completely finished this time. The Saint Venerable has given me a death order. No matter what, I have to complete the plan. However, I don't have the strength to do so. Everything still depends on you. However, if you don't have the confidence, then only death is left for me." It is still too early to say this. Maybe when all the half-step Saint Venerables have gone to find the opportunity, we can take the opportunity to destroy the transmission formation, right? Or, while they are all fighting for the demon god's opportunity, we can quietly destroy the transmission formation. Zi Chen patted Lu Zhen's shoulder and said, "The situation is unclear now. Let's talk about it when we are inside." It seemed that this was the only way. No matter how anxious Lu Zhen was, it was useless. Before leaving, Lu Zhen left behind the opportunity. The old blind man who had been staying here left with the last of the resources. Zichen knew very well that if the plan failed, Lu Zhen's authority would be suppressed. This might be the last transaction. Therefore, he was actually more anxious than Lu Zhen. Half-step, Saint Venerable. Cheng Ho did not care about this realm. He could even kill a group of people with one slap. However, he could not. However, it was useless to be anxious now. Zichen could only comprehend the demon eye in the limited time. What if it really was the demon god's eye? If he had a connection with the demon god, he might be able to avoid some trouble in that area. Another 3 days passed, and the city began to discuss this matter. It was exactly what Lu Zhen had said. However, as the rumor spread, it became infinitely exaggerated. Some people even asserted that once they obtained the demon god's relic, they would have a chance of becoming the new demon god. However, when these words were said, it attracted countless rebuttals. The demon god was not dead. How could there be a new demon god? All kinds of arguments and even fights broke out. However, most of the demon race only discussed it. They were not qualified to enter that place at all. They were not even qualified to get close. Even many of the saint spirits were not qualified to do so. 7-star sacred spirits were the lowest realm to enter. Only those who had reached 7-star were qualified to enter. After Zichen received the news, he left the city and set foot on the path to the demon god's relic alone. The road ahead was full of uncertainty. Therefore, Zichen planned to rely on his own strength and cultivation. Before entering, he did not plan to get involved with Lu Zhen. Lu Zhen could be considered the demon race's best to the spirit race. He did not want to implicate Lu Zhen after his identity was exposed. Chapter 4210. The road ahead was long, and there were many passers-by. They were all demons, and their realms were not low. Some were in groups of 3 to 5, forming small teams, and some were walking alone. Along the way, a Holy Spirit came to invite Zichen to explore together, but Zichen refused. He was not used to staying with a group of demons. After all, he was from the Ling clan. Along the way, Zichen saw many small teams absorbing the passers-by and becoming a sizable team. And the leaders were often young men who looked similar to him. The combat power of these leaders was unknown, but to be able to gather so many people, the force behind them must have a great advantage. According to Lu Zhen, to be recognized in the demon race, one must have the surname of demon. And to meet this requirement, one only needed to have a holy venerable in the family, and the whole family would be given the surname of demon. A holy spirit of the demon race walked over from afar. Zichen continued forward, pretending not to see it. "Brother, are you willing to join our team?" the holy spirit of the demon race asked as he approached. Zichen shook his head, not interested. Earlier, he noticed that the other party was recruiting people everywhere, but he did not know what they promised, but almost everyone agreed. Even some of the small teams that had already formed obviously had the advantage of the family behind them. "My young master is from the Martial Arts Academy, and his realm has already reached 9 stars, and he can become a half-step holy venerable at any time. If you follow my young master, let's not talk about the harvest, at least you can stay alive." The other party followed Zichen's footsteps and continued. Zichen replied indifferently, "If it's to stay alive, why would I come here? Wouldn't it be better to stay at home?" The Holy Spirit was stunned and smiled. "Looks like I said something wrong. What I meant was, after entering, the chances of survival with my young master are very high." Zichen said, "I believe that, but the good things are first seen by your young master, right?" The Holy Spirit said, "Brother, you're thinking too much. Actually, my young master is only entering this time to promote his fiend celestial beast. To put it bluntly, he only wants resources related to the fiend celestial. As for the relics of other holy venerables, he doesn't care." "Fiend celestial beast?" Zichen was astonished. "Is it the legendary fiend celestial beast by the side of the demon god?" The Holy Spirit said, "You don't have the pure bloodline of the legendary fiend celestial beast, but you're not far from it. Once you advance, you might become a real fiend celestial beast. Zichen said, so you're saying that you're looking for people to form alliances with because you want to help your young master's fiend celestial beast advance. Zichen's questions had already caused a hint of anger to appear in the sacred spirit's eyes, but he suppressed it very well. Of course, I can't let you all work for nothing. Once we obtain the fiend god beast's resources, the prince will also give everyone some extra benefits. I believe that many of you won't be able to refuse such benefits. Zichen asked curiously, oh, what kind of resources? The Holy Spirit proudly said, the pure demonic power of the royal family is something that every existence under the royal family yearns for even in their dreams. He pointed to a few people in the distance. Do you see those people? They all had the demonic nature, but they still couldn't resist the temptation of the royal demonic power, so they brought the whole team to join in. Originally, Zichen wanted to refuse, but then he thought about it. With such a good opportunity in front of him, why not accept it? Or it could be said that this was a free opportunity. If he followed the Holy Spirit's team inside, he wouldn't have to be interrogated, and he wouldn't have any psychological burden afterwards, because he was very clear that this guy was recruiting people everywhere. There was only one use for him, and that was to be cannon fodder. Okay, I agree. Zichen nodded, and there was naturally some excitement in his expression. Part of it was faked. After all, he had to show that he was interested in something. The other part was real. He was in a very good mood. How should I address you? What's your realm? The Holy Spirit asked with a smile. At the same time, there was some contempt in his eyes when he looked at Zichen. This trick of his had been tested time and time again. Who could ignore the power of the royal family? Zichen, 8-star demon spirit realm. After Zichen finished his introduction, the Holy Spirit looked at Zichen with even more contempt. The smile on his face also became a bit colder. Follow the team well from now on, and you won't be short of benefits. An 8-star Holy Spirit who didn't even have the demonic nature dared to ask so many questions. At first, he thought that this lone ranger might be extraordinary, and that he was at least a 9-star Holy Spirit. He didn't expect that after talking for so long his mouth was dry. He was just an 8-star Holy Spirit. His attitude naturally became cold. Zichen didn't care. He followed the Holy Spirit forward. Along the way he asked, how should I address you, brother? The Holy Spirit's attitude was indifferent. Just call me Lord. Zichen nodded. Yes, Lord. The Holy Spirit looked at him with eyes full of ridicule. He didn't even bother to look at Zichen. When they arrived at the team, one of them asked, how is it, Shili? Shili said, I made a mistake. An 8-star. The Holy Spirit smiled and said, little Lord 8-star Holy Spirit, come over here. Zichen walked over. At this moment, there were more than 10 people around that Holy Spirit. According to Zichen's soul power perception, they were all 8-star Holy Spirits. The 8-star Holy Spirits were together, the 9-star Holy Spirits were together, and other than that, there were the teams that came for the pure royal power. The Lord who had the fiend celestial beast hadn't come yet, so everyone was divided into different groups, and no one said anything. As they walked forward, Zichen noticed that there were 4 people who were responsible for recruiting others. Under the temptation of the royal power, the team was constantly growing. That Lord didn't appear for a long time. Zichen was a man of few words, and he didn't communicate with others. So when those 8-star Holy Spirits finished introducing themselves, the atmosphere was a little awkward when it came to Zichen. You're just an 8-star Holy Spirit. Do you really think you're a 9-star Holy Spirit? A person beside Zichen snorted coldly. When that person introduced himself, he said that his name was Mo Xian. Mo, she was his real surname, and his first name was Yen. As for the other people, they were the same as Zichen. They didn't have the word Mo in front of their names, so they faintly regarded this Mo Xian as the leader. In the demon world, surnames were very important, especially the surname Mo. Not everyone could use it. For example, Z-Chin, there was almost no one who casually used the alias Mo-Chin, because once it was discovered, it would be a capital offense. He still didn't introduce himself. So Z-Chan was isolated by the 8-star Holy Spirits, and there was a hint of rejection in their words, just as Mo-Chien was muttering to himself, wondering if he should kick this unsociable fellow away. A resounding roar suddenly rang out. The Lord, who had the fiend celestial beast, had finally arrived. Chapter 42:11. The people who were still discussing earlier all quieted down. Everyone's attention fell on the tall exotic beast, including Z-Chin. After seeing the exotic beast, everyone's expression changed, including Z-Chin. Some were shocked, some were envious, and some had strange expressions. The latter was naturally Z-Chin. The tall exotic beast was extremely ugly. It could walk like a human, but there were 2 fangs in its mouth and a wide nose. If it was not for the unique aura that shocked Z-Chin, he would definitely think that it was a fanged boar that had become a spirit. The aura was very unique and shocked everyone's souls. Everyone was only shocked, but Z-Chin was in disbelief. That was because he was very familiar with the aura, and he had also sensed an aura that was 10 times purer than that. This was a fiend celestial beast? His expression was a little strange. His eyes first fell on the owner of the fiend celestial beast. It was a young man wearing a rare purple robe. On his robe, there was a pattern of a fiend celestial beast. Of course, the so-called fiend celestial beast was that fanged boar. If this scene was seen by the people of the Holy Spirit world, they would definitely laugh their heads off. However, here, everyone had a respectful attitude and looked at the young man with longing in their eyes. The other party did not hide his level either. He was a 9-star Holy Spirit. The young man stood there, and the Holy Spirits, who were originally in various places, walked toward him. The young man saluted everyone and said, "Everyone, I am MCMAU, due for the rest of the journey. We will advance and retreat together. Everyone has seen the fiend celestial beast beside me. This time when we enter the fiend celestial ruins, I only want resources related to the fiend celestial beast. I don't want anything else. According to the agreement, as long as we obtain resources, I will give everyone royal magic power in return. I hope everyone can do their best, and I hope everyone can survive. After this, if anyone is still willing to stay by my side and work for me, I, MCMAU, will welcome you." Just a few short sentences, coupled with his powerful aura and the intimidation of the fiend celestial beast, made everyone around him nod, then salute and call him sir. These people were temporarily subdued. MCMAU waved his hand and said, "Let's continue." The people who had already gathered together walked forward, one after another. The 4 people who were in charge of soliciting previously followed beside MCMAU and reported some of the situation. MCMAU nodded and frowned at times. After a while, the 4 of them split up again and went to recruit more people. There were already more than 100 people in the team, but the other party was still recruiting. This made Z-Chin somewhat puzzled. After all, the levels of these people were not low. Even the lowest was an 8-star. What was the point of having so many people? A moment later, more people joined the team, and those people's realms were 7 stars. Previously, the 4 of them had clearly overlooked the existence of 7 stars. After these 7 stars joined in, they were all excited. When they saw the fiend celestial beast, they were even more shocked. They were not deliberately targeted because of their low realms. Only when there was no one in sight did they return. Next, they divided the people into groups. Those who originally had a group were still in the same group, while those who didn't were divided into another group according to their level. On Z-Chen's side, 6 people were in a group. The temporary leader was Mo-Chien, who disliked him. After receiving the position of leader, Mo-Chien coughed lightly and said, "Now, let's be frank. If you have any opinions about me, Mo-Chien, then feel free to raise them. We can discuss it properly. Even if you want me to call you boss, that's fine too." But once we enter the ruins, everyone will shut their mouths because when that time comes, you can only have ears and only ears. Following my orders will be your next duty. Do you all hear me?" Of course, he did not dare to say this out loud. He used rumors. The other 4 responded telepathically, indicating that they understood. Mo Xian glanced at Zichen, his gaze somewhat cold. Zichen said helplessly, "Got it." Mo Xian nodded satisfactorily. He thought that the work of unity this time was completed perfectly. The Fiend Celestial ruins were in a wasteland. It was a place that the Devil Eagle Guard accidentally discovered. At that time, the space was in disorder. He opened the space and entered, discovering a shocking secret. Following that, the Devil Eagle Guard began to investigate and found clues about the spirit race. Only then did they hand it over to the Devil Snake Guard. But later on, they discovered the news of the Fiend Celestial. Hence, the Devil Dragon Guard and the Devil Tiger Guard also joined in. They were a large army of the Devil Realm. Every one of them who could be selected was an outstanding person. But this time, because the difficulty was high and the level was extremely high, those who could be present were some of the upper echelons of the various large armies. When Zichen's group arrived, countless experts of the devil race had already gathered. Among them, the most conspicuous thing was the towering army flags. Even if only the upper echelons could enter, the various large armies still had the advantage of numbers. Zichen did not discover any half-step holy venerables. It seemed that their entrance was not here. The sole remembrance that he released earlier had already discovered Luzhen. As a commander, he brought a 9-star deputy commander and a 100-man team this time. Among them, 20 were 8-star holy spirits. The remaining 80 were 7-star holy spirits. There were too many people, so he did not see Zichen. After MCMAU arrived, the Fiend Celestial Beast beside him caused a small commotion. Almost everyone's attention fell on the Fiend Celestial Beast at the first moment. MCMAU gently raised his hand, and the team stopped. He could be seen leading the Fiend Celestial Beast alone and walking forward. At this moment, MCMAU and the Fiend Celestial Beast were the focus. From the other large armies, a few people came out and greeted MCMAU. Zichen's attention, on the other hand, was on a few other places. There was a small group of people, at most 20. They were all hidden under black robes. Judging from the aura that they exuded, these people were not weak. And there were more than 20 small teams like this. Looks like this is the peak of the devil race's strength. Many forces and powerhouses have come. Those black-robed people may be members of the royal family. Perhaps there are members of the royal family among them. Reality proved that following MCMAU here was a very wise choice. This was because there was no need to be checked. When other teams came in, there would be people who would check their identities. While MCMAU was chatting with those from the other armies, Luzhen finally noticed Zichen in the crowd. He excitedly transmitted his voice. "I thought you weren't coming. How is it? Have you thought of a way? Let's go in first." Chapter 42:12. Hearing Zichen's telepathic message, Luzhen did not dare to respond. This was an unusual plan, so they had to be extra careful. Zichen looked ahead. That MCMAU guy seemed to have a wide network of connections. He was familiar with many leaders and was greeting them. Even now, he was still the center of attention because he had a Fiend Celestial Beast. Zichen paid extra attention. Those black-robed people did not seem to care. They just glanced at MCMAU and lost interest. There were still people coming from behind, but they had to be investigated. It seemed like there was still a step of checking their identities. After a while, MCMAU came back. He looked at everyone and said, "In less than half a day, the Fiend Celestial Relic will open. Follow me closely to avoid any accidents." Everyone nodded. Zichen spread his soul power around to check the situation. The highest level here was a 9-star Holy Spirit. There were no half-step holy spirits, nor were there any holy venerables. It seemed that the holy venerables who were interested in this place had gone to other areas to open a passage for the half-step holy venerables. Brother Wuda, you don't look very happy. The holy venerables from the Demon G family looked at Mo Wuda, who was in a bad mood, and smiled. This time, the task of opening a passage was given to the Demon Snake guards. So, many of the Demon Snake guards' holy venerables were here. Of course, the passage was not opened for nothing. All the holy venerables who participated could send a half-step holy venerate in. How is that possible? Mo Wuda smiled faintly and said, "We will do our best for the demon race." Holy venerate Mo Yen smiled and said, "Brother Wuda, your words are beautiful. However, I believe you know the pain in your heart." Mo Wuda snorted softly. Holy venerate Mo-G laughed and said, "Wuda, how many years have we known each other? How can I not know about your personality? Speaking of which, you spent a lot of effort to get the resources allocated by the higher-ups and gave this place to us. Now that it has become the Fiend Celestial Relic, do you regret it?" Holy Sage Mo Yen added, "Even if he regrets it, it's useless. He's too young, and he doesn't have any capable half-step holy sages by his side. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made such a face as soon as he arrived. It's very clear that not only is there no benefit to him, all of the credit has nothing to do with him." Mo Wu snorted heavily. He didn't reply, but his face was ashen. The few holy venerates at the side laughed loudly. Last time, when the demon snake guards were purged, Mo Wuda alone had reaped great benefits. His status in the demon snake guards had also risen by quite a bit. The other saint venerables had also suffered a loss, so they were naturally unwilling to accept it. However, he did not expect that the heavens would open their eyes and this place would suddenly become a demon god's relic. Naturally, there were many benefits, but Emoda would not be able to obtain anything. "All right, the ceremony is about to begin. Everyone be alert," said a nearby saint venerable. Behind these holy venerates stood many demons. They were all half-step holy venerates. Their auras were extraordinary, and each had their own merits. The many holy venerates worked together to forcibly open a passage outside the relic. However, after the passage was opened, the amount of energy consumed caused the holy venerates' expressions to change. This is the resistance against the power left behind by the Fiend Celestial. Hurry up and go in first. Holy Sage Mo-G turned around and said, "You guys go in first before the others. Hurry up." These half-step holy venerates who were already prepared turned into streaks of light and flew in. When the last person disappeared, the holy venerates immediately stopped. In less than a quarter of an hour, the holy venerates had joined forces to resist the power left behind by the Fiend Celestial many years ago. However, they still consumed a lot of energy. One could imagine how powerful the Fiend Celestial was back then. Holy Sage Mo-G, whose face was still pale, said, "Pass down the order. The others can go in now." The passage to the relic had already appeared, but it wasn't open. There was a demon snake guard team made up entirely of 9-star commanders guarding the entrance. Zi-Chin, who was carefully observing his surroundings, suddenly had a change in expression. At that moment, he felt that something strange had happened to the entrance of the passage. It seemed to have become unstable, and he could faintly feel the power of a holy venerate lingering around. This kind of unstable soul power only appeared for an instant before disappearing. This made Zi-Chin feel a bit absent-minded, wondering if it was an illusion. However, a quarter of an hour later, the same thing happened again. However, other than the soul power being unstable, there was no other abnormality. Zi-Chen deliberately paid attention to it, but he was very puzzled. Not long after, the people guarding the passage opened up a path for everyone to enter. The demon snake guard went in first, and Lu Zhen's team was among them. This time, just the demon snake guard alone had already reached 10,000 people. It had to be known that this was a 7-star or higher existence. The scale this time was much larger than the last time Ziqin had entered the Lost World. Furthermore, this was only a portion of the demon race's experts, not all of them. It could be seen that the demon race had been recuperating for many years and had indeed cultivated many powerhouses. Otherwise, they would not have been scheming to enter the Saint Spirit realm. After the demon snake guard went in, MCMAU signaled for everyone to move. It was obvious that they wanted to go in first. It was hard to say what opportunities there would be inside, so if they went in early, they might be able to occupy an advantageous position. Ziqin and the others were the third batch to go in. Under MCMAU's lead, everyone went in one by one. Waves of air hit him in the face. Ziqin felt a familiar aura, and his soul power probed forward. The air was filled with spiritual power, and there was also a lot of devil power mixed together. There was also the pressure of a holy venerate. He did not know if this was the demon god's relic, but there was definitely something about the holy venerate. The ground was decayed, and many ravines and countless battlefields could be seen. Occasionally, 1 or 2 broken weapons could be seen standing there. However, after countless years of erosion, these weapons had long lost their spiritual power and become abandoned things. Occasionally, some would still emit spiritual light, and people would treat them as priceless treasures. Ziqin's soul continued to extend, and he even saw bones. There was an unknown demon beast with a body like a giant mountain, standing between heaven and earth. Its physical body had already decayed, and only white bones were left. A group of demons rushed forward excitedly. Such white bones were also rare, priceless treasures. If they brought them back, they could be condensed into weapons. However, just as they approached, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from the white bones. Vaguely, a huge beast shadow appeared, and it let out a deafening roar at the demons. A powerful ripple visible to the naked eye appeared, forming an attack wave, and sent the demons flying. The demons who were sent flying looked pale. Some of them had blood at the corner of their mouths. When they looked forward again, there was a drastic change in their eyes. The white bones lost their light and turned into dust and scattered. Ziqin retracted his soul power. The roar from before was filled with anger and unwillingness. As a spirit, he could feel that emotion and will. If those demons had not approached, the white bones would have remained in the world for many years. However, the aura of the demons had stimulated its last remaining strength. Chapter 42:13. Let's go. What are you waiting for? Mo Xian's impatient voice rang out. Only then did Ziqin notice that everyone had already started moving forward. He followed, but his mood was fluctuating greatly. The world was filled with the pressure of a holy venerable, causing many people to feel uncomfortable, so everyone's speed was not fast. In such a place, no one knew what dangers were waiting for everyone. After walking for less than 15 minutes, Mo Wudu said, "There is no danger here at the moment. Everyone speed up." Those demon snake guards had entered early and were already gone. Mo Wudu was obviously anxious. Thus, everyone sped up their pace. At this moment, although Ziqin was moving forward with everyone, his soul power had already dissipated. He had not seen the battle scene back then, but after seeing those corpses, he could still imagine it. Just this place alone had many holy venerables killed in battle. Those tall skeletons were all at the holy venerable realm when they were alive. As those demons continued to try, the skeletons exhausted their last bit of strength and then dissipated. Because of the difference in strength, some demons were sent flying, some were injured, and in the end there were even deaths. Ziqin's soul power spread out in all directions. Seeing those skeletons disappear, his heart was very heavy and very tragic. They had clearly died in battle and had no consciousness, but they could still sense the aura of the demons and launch their final attack. What kind of belief was this? Even after countless years, it still did not dissipate. The unwillingness of the skeletons before they died caused Ziqin Chen's mood to be unable to calm down for a long time. He raised his head and looked at the sky. This place had been sealed for countless years. He somewhat believed that the demon god existed in the world, because only the demon god would have such powerful strength and methods to kill all the holy venerables of the spirit clan and then completely seal this place. Because if it was not sealed, even if these holy venerables died to the demons in the world, this place would be a place of no return. Even the holy venerables who died in battle here could be transformed into battle spirits and enter the demon world to fight until the last person died. These were the ancestors of the spirit clan back then. Their desire to exterminate demons was unstoppable. Even if they died in battle, their souls would never be extinguished. At present, they had yet to discover any fortuitous encounters. However, the demon snake guards had already suffered casualties. This caused the leaders at the front to feel somewhat furious. Thus, they signaled for the others to stop thinking about the skeletons. After seeing desiccated bones, everyone deliberately went around him. Why is there only the spirit clan and no demon Saint Venerables? Judging from the mess on the battlefield, shouldn't the holy masters of the spirit race be the only ones who have died? Zichen, who was walking forward, suddenly realized the problem. So far, not a single corpse of a holy venerable of the demon race had appeared. Actually, the demon snake guards had also sensed the problem from the very beginning. However, they still wanted to give it a try. They wanted to see if they could find any opportunities, but it obviously didn't work. As Zichen continued to move forward, a skeleton finally appeared in his field of vision. It was a human standing on the messy ground. He held a broken sword in his hand and looked up at the sky. The other half of the weapon was stabbed into the ground. He was just an ordinary human. He wasn't very tall. However, when he stood there, it was as if he was an independent, small world. All the demons who passed by deliberately avoided him. No one dared to go forward. MCMAU looked at the scene in front of him and frowned. Beside him, the fiend celestial beast let out a low, vigilant growl. "Get out of the way." After hesitating for a while, MCMAU said indifferently. It was obvious that he didn't want to go over and look for trouble. It was obvious that there was no fortuitous encounter. If he was injured like the others, the loss would outweigh the gain. There was no need to fight with a skeleton that was blocking the way. At this moment, a cry of surprise was heard. "What are you doing? Sir told you to get out of the way. Didn't you hear?" It was Emo Xian's voice. At this moment, he was glaring at Zichen angrily. Zichen, on the other hand, walked forward step by step and went straight for the skeleton. The others also noticed this scene, and their expressions changed one by one. Emo Xian wanted to go forward and stop him, but was stopped by MCMAU. Since someone was courting death, he was naturally happy to watch. Moreover, it was only an 8-star. It wouldn't affect the overall situation. Zichen walked forward. It was not that he had to be so conspicuous, but when he approached this place he felt a calling. This calling was not strong. It was intermittent and would not affect Zichen's soul. Like the others, Zichen could completely avoid it. It would not be a problem. However, on second thought, the Lord tragically died in battle in the alternate world. There was not even a corpse to be collected. The skeleton that was left behind in this area did not disperse for a long time. Perhaps it had some unfulfilled wish. Therefore, he walked forward, even though he seemed so out of place at this moment. He arrived in front of the skeleton. Around him, the others held their breaths. This was because under normal circumstances, as long as he got a little closer, he would trigger the skeleton's anomaly. If it was light, he would be sent flying. If it was serious, he would be injured or even die. Zichen kept moving forward. As he got closer, the calling became stronger and stronger. He arrived in front of the skeleton. Both of them were only a fist's distance away. There was an uproar behind him. According to what had happened before, Zichen should have triggered the anomaly long ago. Zichen looked at the skeleton in front of him and apologized in his heart. Then, He reached out and touched the skeleton's shoulder. In the next moment, the skeleton began to shake. Countless rays of light bloomed, dazzling and eye-catching. Some of the demons, subconsciously, closed their eyes. It was obvious that this was about to erupt. However, immediately after, the cheers rose again. Because Zichen hadn't been sent flying, the rays of light that had been released converged in front of Zichen. They didn't have any destructive power. Instead, they turned into a shining pearl. Although Wei Jiantong and his wife killed 12 demon lords in the demon realm, we have no regrets if we die here today. Ciao! Wait for me for a moment. I will accompany you immediately. However, our spirit tribe sword art will disappear in the demon realm. It is a great pity for the spirit realm. We have left behind the most powerful sword art of our lives for the fated ones of the spirit race to obtain. Just as the rays of light condensed, a voice entered Zichen's mind. It was left behind by the skeleton many years ago. It was also his last wish before he died in battle. Zichen was a little shocked. The husband and wife were both Saint Venerables. They had killed 12 demon lords. How extraordinary was their combat power! However, why were there no corpses? Why were there only corpses of the spirit tribe's Saint Venerables? The skeleton in front of him had disappeared. A light ball appeared in Zichen's hand. The light ball was filled with strong sword intent. This was the sword art left behind by Jiantong. In the saint spirit realm, this was an ancient sword art. You're quite lucky. Bring it over for me to see. Chapter 42:14. Looking at the ball in Zichen's hand, everyone was stunned. Up until now, no one had obtained the opportunity. Zichen was the first to obtain the opportunity from these powerful skeletons. MCMAU looked at Zichen with a smile. Zichen held the only thing left behind by the sword companion senior, his eyes filled with caution. Didn't you say earlier that you'd only take the resources related to the demon god? MCMAU was slightly taken aback. He did not expect the other party to say that. It was just an energy ball, not a big deal. In his estimation, as long as he opened his mouth, the other party would respectfully present it to him with both hands. The way the others looked at MCMAU had also changed. If MCMAU insisted on snatching the resources from Zichen's hands, then he would lose the hearts of the people. MCMAU, who had a panoramic view of all this, laughed involuntarily. I'm just taking a look. If you're really the only one who can obtain it, then I'll ask the people in front to do me a favor. Then you can take everything away. Zichen clearly breathed a sigh of relief, as did the others around him. Zichen came forward with the ball and said, I don't know what happened either. I just wanted to try my luck, but I didn't expect to get this ball of light. In Zichen's perception, the sword will in this ball of light was boiling and extremely lively. Clearly, even to Zichen, this was a treasure. However, the expressions of the others around him did not change much. When they looked at the ball of light, they only felt curiosity, nothing more. If one person was pretending to be calm, Zichen would believe it. If everyone was so calm, Zichen would not believe it. Therefore, when he walked toward MCMAU, he had a guess in his heart. That was, only he could feel the sword will in it, and no one else could. When he came closer, Zichen respectfully handed the item to MCMAU. The other party picked it up and glanced at it. The spiritual power in it was tumbling, but other than that, there was nothing unusual. Obviously, this was something that the Lord had left for the spirit clan. It was useless to the demon clan. MCMAU could not see anything special about it. He looked at Zichen and said, Others can't get it, but you can. You're not from the spirit tribe, are you? Zichen snorted and said proudly, The spirit race has an 8-star divine spirit. What's your name? MCMAU asked with a smile. Zichen immediately cupped his hands and said, Sir, I am Zichen. Oh, There was a hint of disdain in Kuta's initially smiling eyes. A guy who did not even have a demonic nature. It seemed like it was just a coincidence. Thus he said, "Looks like your luck is not bad. You can continue to try the next one and see if you can succeed." Zi Chen immediately nodded and said gratefully, "To tell you the truth, I've had good luck since I was little. When I was young, everyone said that I wasn't good for cultivation, but I accidentally fell into a cliff and saw a very bright fruit inside. After eating it, my cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds." "Very bright fruit?" MCMAU asked with interest. "What kind of fruit is it?" "I'm not sure either. It's been many years. Anyway, it's very bright and somewhat similar to this one. At that time, I was still young and the fruit was very fragrant. At that time, I couldn't resist the temptation at all, so I ate it." Zi Chen chuckled, looking a little silly. "Looks like your good fortune today has something to do with that fruit. Go, find another one and try. If you really succeed, then all the bones that follow will be yours." Zi Chen's demonic aura could not be faked, so this story did not arouse MCMAU's suspicion. "Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. If I succeed, I'm willing to split the spoils 30 to 70. Sir, you can take 30% and the other 70% is mine," Zi Chen said excitedly. When the people around heard this, the corners of their mouths twitched slightly. What a greedy guy. There were so many things here. How many light balls would he have to condense? Even if it was not of much use to them, it was left behind by a saint. It was not bad to use it as a souvenir. MCMAU waved his hand. "No need. That's your good fortune. Naturally, it's yours. I'm happy to be able to help you. That's enough." Zi Chen saluted again. "Sir, if you have any orders in the future, just say the word. Zi Chen will do anything to help." MCMAU laughed. "It's not that serious. You take your things now. After that, we'll go deeper and find the real fortune." MCMAU's expression darkened. He looked around and said, "Everyone, I want to say something here. Since these bones are Zi Chen's good fortune, then don't try them one by one. Otherwise, you'll lose more than you gain. If you have your own gains later, I'll fight for them for you." When the others who had been scheming heard this, they immediately nodded their heads. To show that he was not just saying this, MCMAU continued, "Shili, the few of you go up and say hello. Tell them to leave these things for me. I'll remember this favor. When this matter is over, I'll meet everyone again." "Yes." Shili and the others nodded and left immediately. For the rest of the journey, no one dared to attack the skeletons, other than being willing to do MCMAU a favor at no cost. It was also because they were afraid. Those skeletons were too evil. They did not want to be killed by these skeletons before they could even obtain anything. After walking for dozens of miles, Zi Chen saw the second set of bones. This was the skeleton of a spirit tribe beast. It was tall and majestic. Zi Chen did not feel any summoning power from it, but he still walked forward. When he got closer, the repulsive force did not appear. Zi Chen reached out and touched the bones. The bones moved and a voice came out. "I'm from the mountains, so I won't leave my name. I've killed enough animals in the demonic realm this time. Even if I die, I won't lose anything. You spirit tribe, brats can take it." In Zi Chen's consciousness, a voice like thunder rang out. Then, the bones dissipated and turned into a ball of light. The eyes of the people behind flashed. They had obtained another ball of light. It seemed that the fruit he ate that year was indeed extraordinary. "Everyone, speed up." MCMAU reminded everyone again. Zi Chen took the lead and flew forward at full speed. Based on what he had learned from the previous 2 expeditions, he guessed that the ancestors had left behind some magical techniques when they died in battle, and he was the only one who could obtain them. Zi Chen was very glad. He was glad that he came here at this time. Otherwise, the only wish of these saint venerables who were not afraid of death would not be able to be fulfilled. At the same time, he was also a little regretful. He had watched as some of the bones disappeared and did not leave anything behind. The third, the fourth, the fifth. Zi-Chen's soul spread out and sensed the location of each of the bones. He did not want to miss a single one. Even if he revealed a little of his soul in between, it did not matter. Chapter 42:15. Zi-Chen heard one voice after another and obtained one ancient technique after another. This was an amazing opportunity. It could be considered the greatest opportunity that Zi-Chen had encountered so far. If there were no accidents, he did not need to fight. He only needed to reach out gently and he could obtain an ancient holy venerate technique. However, he was not happy. His mood was very heavy. Many seniors left behind their techniques, but were unwilling to leave their names. Many of them called themselves nameless. Some did not even speak. After Zi-Chen's hand landed on them, only the technique appeared and the bones disappeared. He obtained dozens of light balls. Inside them were dozens of extremely powerful ancient techniques. When he obtained the techniques, Zi-Chen also had doubts in his heart. Why did he not see the holy venerates of the demon race? Among them, many had killed enough. Why did he not see the corpses of those holy venerates? Moreover, in those messages the word Sir would be mentioned from time to time. That was the Sir who led them to kill their way into this place. At this moment that Sir was not seen. No one mentioned the demon god who had already done all this. Zi-Chen's soul power discovered that the front had become a plain area. As far as the eye could see, there was still no vegetation. In fact, upon closer inspection, it was not a real plain. The ground had collapsed due to the aftermath of the battle. Compared to this area where there were corpses but no holy venerates of the demon race, the ground there was a full 1,000 feet lower. It was like 1,000 feet high cliff, and everyone had to jump down. Zi-Chen had not arrived, but his soul power had already discovered that the demon snake guards had encountered an enemy for the first time. It was a real enemy. It was not the spirit race, but a demon race creature. The fluctuations of the battle came from afar. Someone must be communicating with MCMAU. MCMAU immediately said, "Everyone go in at full speed." He led the others and flew forward. The fiend celestial beast followed beside him. The others followed closely behind. Its demon power. Zi-Chen used his soul power that far surpassed the others to discover that the dead demon race creatures had turned into streams of energy. Those streams of energy were demon power, extremely pure demon power. Moreover, there were different attributes among those demon power, just like the demon dragon power that Zi-Chen discovered in the Lost World. This discovery caused Zi-Chen to speed up. Although the magic power was useless to him, he could bring it back for the magic ape to use. Demon creatures appeared one after another. The battle ahead had already begun. MCMAU landed. He glanced at the fiend celestial beast beside him and asked, "How is it?" The fiend celestial beast shook its head. MCMAU turned around and said, "Work in small groups. Kill these creatures and distribute the power you get." Obviously, MCMAU was not interested in these powers. Everyone shouted and rushed forward. Emotian glanced at Zi-Chen and said, "Everyone, don't just stand there. Follow me to kill the enemy, and we'll get contribution points." Only then did Zi-Chen remember that it was not yet time for him to do whatever he wanted, so he could only follow Emotian. The 6 of them formed a small team and started attacking the creatures. These creatures were around the level of a 7-star Holy Spirit. They weren't strong, but the power they generated after they died was very pure. Everyone in the 6-man team had the strength to kill it alone. Now that they were in a small group with 6 people gathered together, they couldn't unleash their full power. MCMAU quickly realized this and said, "Everyone spread out and fight on your own. Finally, we'll gather again." Everyone responded and spread out, carrying out their own battles. Zi-Chen landed a punch and repelled a demon creature. A light flashed under his feet, and he quickly went forward. When his second punch landed, he killed another one. He received a surge of power. This kind of lethality was neither strong nor weak among the 8-star Holy Spirits. In the middle, others should not be able to see anything unusual. As for those 9-star Holy Spirits, he killed them with one punch. Everyone started to push forward, and everyone gained a lot. Zi-Chin, who was still fighting, could not help but have doubts in his heart. How could there be such a place in the world? To the demons present, this wasn't even a test. It was simply a free opportunity for them. The dried bones from before could still bring danger to the demons and make them feel death. However, the creatures here were not even the slightest bit dangerous. As long as they paid attention, these creatures were like children delivering treasures. Every time they killed one, they could obtain a valuable treasure. Zi-Chin looked at them from the corner of his eye. Everyone was overjoyed. Could it be that all this was the doing of that demon god? Was it to make those demons stronger? Although he had doubts in his heart, Zi-Chin did not stop attacking. At a steady pace, he collected one surge of power after another. Behind him, MCMAU did not make a move. It seemed that, with his status, he did not care about the power here. The fiend celestial beast stood next to him, looking around coldly. There seemed to be an endless number of creatures here. As soon as one was killed, a second one would soon appear. However, everyone had no intention of stopping. They kept on killing their way into the depths. The black-robed people who came in later had already surpassed them. If there were opportunities here, there would obviously be more opportunities in the depths. MCMAU urged, "Go in a straight line. The benefits inside will only be more than here." Everyone quickly followed behind. In fact, MCMAU's team was already full. Because they had wasted some time waiting for Zi-Chin, and now that everyone was killing creatures to obtain opportunities, the whole team was separated. They were much slower than the others. The people brought by Lu Jin had already disappeared from sight. That should be another space. Once everyone stepped into the designated area, they would disappear. Team assemble. Everyone go in. Following MCMAU's order, everyone began to gather, then formed into small teams and killed their way into the depths. Any creatures that appeared along the way would be killed. Zi-Chen's team walked at the back. This was because the leader, Xian, wanted to gather more power and deliberately slowed down. Zi-Chen pretended not to know and still killed a creature with 2 punches. MCMAU and the others moved forward quickly. When their figures reached the designated location, they disappeared. Then, one by one, the small teams disappeared. Beside them, Xian's eyes began to flicker. He glanced at the person beside him. Zi-Chen tapped his foot and accelerated instantly. Like a stream of light, he left the team and flew forward. In the next moment, his figure disappeared. Damn it! Xian looked at the disappearing Zi-Chin and could not help but curse. He's so careful. He didn't even give us a chance to threaten him. The others felt that it was a pity. They did not dare to kill Zi-Chin here, but they could take advantage of the fact that no one was threatening him. For example, they could share 1 or 2 of the things they had obtained earlier. Chapter 42:16. After entering another space, what appeared in their field of vision were still demons. However, their combat strength was much stronger than before. Their combat strength was equivalent to that of an 8-star Holy Spirit. This made many people feel strained. As soon as Zi-Chin entered the space, he noticed that Mo Wudu was looking at him, as if worried that he could not keep up. The 2 exchanged glances. Zi-Chin nodded and smiled. Xian's group of 5 followed, closely behind. He looked at Zi-Chin with eyes full of hostility. The demons here were stronger. Under the circumstances of hiding their strength, Zi-Chin could only consider joining a small team. Zi-Chin, don't you think you're being too greedy? Mo Xian's voice rang in Zi Chen's mind. This was a voice transmission. Greedy. Zi Chen did not understand. What do you mean? So many holy venerables. Don't you think a puny 8-star like you is too full to eat? Aren't you worried that you'll die from overeating? Mo Xian said, as the saying goes, those who see have a share. You should know this principle, right? I'm not sure. Zi Chen's lips curled into a smile. It seemed that after he obtained those things, everyone's eyes were starting to turn red. Mo Xian was the first, but he would not be the last. Zi Chen laughed coldly. The demons present were not weak, but they did not seem to be very smart. Do I need you to think about my things? Mo Wudu had been waiting for a long time. Even if I give it to you now, do you dare to take it? Zi Chen asked. Why wouldn't I? Mo Xian said coldly. Zi Chen said, if you really dare to take it, I'll give you 10 pills in front of everyone. Of course, this was a joke. Once Zi Chen got his hands on something like this, he would never take it out again. Mo Xian was stunned. He did not expect Zi Chen to do this. Of course, he did not dare to take it. In front of everyone, whoever took it would die. The reason why he was communicating with Zi Chen now was because they were in the same team. He felt that with his status, he could suppress Zi Chen. Furthermore, he wasn't greedy. He only wanted one. As the battle continued, everyone gradually began to feel the strain. Previously, Zi Chen could kill one with 2 punches, but now it took him nearly 50 punches to kill one. However, the power obtained was also of a higher grade. The 7-star saint spirits in the team regrouped and joined forces to kill the enemy. The efficiency was not very high, but every harvest was real. The devilish beings here were slightly weaker than the devilish beings of the same cultivation level. If this were the Holy Spirit realm, it would be a land of opportunity, because it wasn't dangerous at all. Nkuta began to attack as well. He punched one after another. The wind from his punches was very strong. Waves of energy floated around him one after another. The fiend celestial beast that had been beside him seemed to feel that it was tasteless after devouring the 2 creatures. So it gave up. One team after another moved forward, overtaking Zi Chen and the others. MCMAU's advantage of being the first to enter the competition had been greatly diminished. Nquandu was a little anxious. However, the others were not anxious. They had already gained a lot. Even if they left now, they would still have profited. However, it was useless for MCMAU to be anxious alone. Everyone's combat strength was limited, so they could only kill slowly. Zi Chen was still punching alone. Gradually, he began to feel the strain. Nkuta saw this and said, everyone return to the team and fight. Power will be distributed according to contribution. Clearly, Nkuta still did not intend to ask for resources. Previously, some people had already returned to the team. After hearing Nkuta's words, the others began to retreat. Zi Chen also returned to the team. The 6 of them attacked together, but the gazes that his teammates gave Zi Chen from time to time became very unfriendly. As the team leader, Mo Xian pointed at a few people and said, next, the power will be distributed according to ranking. Mo Xian pointed at a few people and arranged himself in the 5th position. Zi Chen was in the 6th position. In other words, the entire team had to kill 6 creatures before Zi Chen would receive 1 power. In other words, after killing 11 creatures, Zi Chen would still only receive 1 power. After the distribution was done, Mo Xian asked symbolically, does anyone have any objections? The others shook their heads. Zi Chen, on the other hand, was too lazy to have any objections. After all, they were all going to die in the end. All the resources were destined to be his anyway. Now, who cared who they were? The team was still advancing. Zi Chen's soul power was already 1 step ahead of Nkutu. He saw the scene in the depths. Just like before, everyone had disappeared. They had probably entered the next area. No one stayed in this area for too long, even if there were many opportunities here. because everyone knew that there were more resources in the depths. Except for a few greedy and unlucky ones who were killed by dried bones remaining power, the others were still alive. In fact, they were still alive now. Even if some were injured, it was only minor injuries. Chen could imagine that the next area would be very dangerous. Right now, the best thing to do was for those with lower realms to retreat. However, these people were like gamblers who had won a big victory. They were not willing to leave, just like that. They wanted to win again. It was not easy for their luck to turn around. If they left now, wouldn't it be a loss? Moreover, the creatures that had not been very dangerous all this time made them let down their guard. Chen could see that Mkutu was anxious to enter the depths. Naturally, the others could see it too. However, since Mkutu did not say anything, they did not deliberately speed up. After about half an hour, almost all the teams had overtaken them. They who were at the front were now the last. That's not right. Chen's expression suddenly changed as he realized what was going on. Mkutu's anxiety was actually an act. His original intention was to stay at the back, such as the current situation. As for why that was, perhaps it had something to do with the third level, because everyone was about to reach the end. Mkutu did not ask if they were going back. Under the lead of his subordinate, Shili, everyone entered the third space. Chen was at the back this time. Mo Xian and the others were also around him. Mkutu was in the other direction, walking toward the third space. He was slightly faster than Chen's team. Just as his figure disappeared, Mo Xian and the others suddenly stopped. They turned their heads and stared at Chen fiercely. Right at this moment, a hurricane suddenly appeared and engulfed the few of them. Mo Xian and the others were swept into the next level by the hurricane. Chen, on the other hand, was swept away by the hurricane. The hurricane around him gradually disappeared. Chen stood in the air. In his field of vision, there were many demon tribe creatures. A ray of light appeared beside him and turned into a small black beast. It was Spectre. When it appeared, its eyes shone with excitement. It opened its mouth and inhaled. A strange force spread. The rules of this space seemed to be forcibly changed. The space began to distort, showing signs of collapse. Chapter 42:17. Pum, pum, pum. The explosion was like a roar, resounding through the entire space. The demon clan creatures that Chen needed 50 punches to kill before exploded one after another. When their bodies exploded, they did not leave behind any pure magic power. Instead, they turned into a magic mist. As the demonic creatures exploded, the demonic fog filled the surroundings, illuminating the distorted world into darkness. Then, the black fog was sucked into the spirit's mouth. It was as if a black vortex had opened up beside it, swallowing everything in its path. Chen looked at the scene quietly. His changing expression told him that his heart was not calm. Earlier, the demon clan creatures were very attractive to the demon clan creatures. However, Chen wanted to hide his strength, so he could only let it continue to hide. Now that he was the last one here, there was no need to worry. However, he did not expect the demon clan to be so fierce. In the blink of an eye, all the demon clan creatures in this world were cleared. The demon clan burped, very satisfied. After swallowing so many demon clan creatures that were much bigger than it, its body did not change at all. I'll take a rest first. If there's a chance at the next place, I'll continue to eat. The demon clan turned into a ray of light, disappearing beside Chen. Chen, on the other hand, continued to fly forward, not forgetting to act as if he was panicking. Cold sweat appeared on Mo Xian's forehead, dripping from the corner of his eyes. He stood there motionless, covered in cold sweat. Mo Wudu's gaze was as cold as a sword, as if it was going to pierce into his heart, causing waves of coldness to appear in his heart. "Speak, where is Chen?" he asked coldly. Everything was under his control, and there were no accidents. However, because he was one step ahead, Zichen was gone. He had already noticed the strange expressions on Xian's and the others' faces and guessed what they were doing. However, he did not pay too much attention to it because in the end it was still his. The relics of the saint, regardless of whether they were of the spirit clan or the demon clan, were valuable treasures. He had never intended to give it to Zichen. Who would have thought that such an accident would occur? Had a strange wind suddenly appeared and blown them in and Zichen away? Who would believe that? At this moment, the few people following Xian were also trembling with fear. Originally, they had indeed planned to threaten Zichen again, but that strange wind had appeared at the wrong time. Now, they didn't get what they wanted, and Zichen was nowhere to be seen. It was hard for them to argue. At this moment, Zichen's figure staggered as he appeared. When he saw everyone present, he heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, Xian and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. If Zichen still did not appear, he even suspected that MCMAU would kill him on the spot. After this incident, he no longer dared to have any ideas about Zichen, because MCMAU had already set its sights on these things. What happened? MCMAU went up alone and asked with concern. Zichen said with lingering fear, "A strange wind suddenly appeared and almost swept me away." MCMAU nodded and said, "Then be careful." Then MCMAU turned around and looked at everyone who had stopped in their tracks. He said indifferently, "In MCMAU's team, infighting is not allowed. Also, you're not allowed to steal things. We've already agreed that the things belong to whoever owns them. If there's anyone who doesn't agree in their hearts, then tell me in advance. If I find out who dares to break the rules, then don't blame me for being rude." Everyone nodded immediately. Just as MCMAU was speaking, Zichen diverted part of his energy to investigate the surroundings. This place was no longer an endless wasteland. There were more tall mountains and some vegetation. Compared to the previous two places, this place already looked a bit like a historical site. MCMAU waved his hand and said, "Let's go." Everyone walked forward. Zichen remained in Xian's team. There was some pity in their eyes when they looked at him. After all, he had started off dead. MCMAU frowned. Could it be that there were other people who had designs on Zichen? Were they trying to snatch him from him? Suddenly, rays of light appeared in front of them. One by one, demonic creatures appeared. Compared to the other demonic creatures, these seemed more agile, as if they were intelligent creatures. Moreover, their bodies exuded a dangerous aura. The difficulty has indeed increased by more than one level. Zichen's heart skipped a beat. The danger ahead was just the beginning. There would definitely be casualties in this team. Feeling the aura exuding from those demonic creatures, everyone's expression changed. They all sensed danger. The fiend celestial beast that had not participated in the battle suddenly flew forward. Like a ray of black light, it came to the forefront. There was a loud bang. It used its body to send a demonic creature flying. When it landed, its body disappeared into thin air, turning into a force. That force exuded a demonic light and was even purer. "It's second only to the royal family's power," someone exclaimed. The power of the royal family was very tempting in the demonic realm. It was what most of the demons pursued. This time, everyone was willing to follow MCMAU because the other party had promised them the benefits of the royal family's power. They did not expect that they would discover a pure demonic power that was second only to the royal family's power. This was a true treasure. When the people who were still a little timid looked at those demonic creatures again, their eyes flashed. They were like misers who saw countless gold coins. Without further instructions from MCMAU, everyone rushed forward and started the battle. With the previous example, MCMAU's attention was always on Zichen. Zichen followed the team and attacked. As for the distribution of the spoils, it was still the same as before. Zichen was the last. After the battle began, the fiend celestial beast rushed forward. Following that, the few people brought by MCMAU also went forward. MCMAU remained at the back. He had not attacked yet. After a while, the group returned under the lead of the fiend celestial beast. Nobody knew what the two of them said, but MCMAU immediately said, "Everyone, let's change our route." MCMAU personally took action and walked in another direction. Zi-Chen's soul energy extended and discovered a towering mountain peak. There were many demonic creatures on the mountain peak, and there was an abnormal fluctuation on the peak. Zi-Chen guessed that MCMAU's real target was there. Chapter 42:18. Zi-Chen's soul energy was out of the ordinary. He sensed everyone's intention in advance. At the same time, he also guessed MCMAU's real intention. This area was indeed a land of opportunity. If those 7 stars and 8 stars left after obtaining the opportunity, their future achievements would be limitless. It was hard to say whether they could reach the level of a Holy Venerable, but there should be some who could reach the level of a half-step Holy Venerable. However, no one retreated. Either they were unwilling, or their leader did not agree. Then, the original opportunity would become a danger. Zi-Chen looked at these people. Before long, these people would become corpses. Naturally, MCMAU's promise to everyone would no longer need to be fulfilled. Even the resources that everyone obtained along the way would become MCMAU's alone. From the beginning, MCMAU did not intend to let them live. They killed their way to the foot of the mountain. Many people were already injured. A heavy and oppressive aura emerged from the mountain peak. Everyone found that they had lost their ability to fly. When they approached the mountain peak, there was a restriction between heaven and earth. In front of MCMAU, more than 10 rays of light appeared. These were pure royal tribe power and were particularly eye-catching. Everyone's originally weak state seemed to have recovered a little after sensing these royal tribe power. MCMAU said in a low voice, "If you successfully reach the mountain peak, everyone will be rewarded with a royal tribe power. The gains along the way will still be yours." With such a high reward, everyone's eyes burned with passion. MCMAU said, "Trust me, as long as you follow me, you will have endless resources. Everyone take a short break, then we'll kill our way to the mountain peak. That's our destination this time." Everyone was unusually excited. Their expressions were particularly agitated because they did not know what kind of powerful existence was on the mountain peak. In other directions, some people had already killed their way to the mountain peak. However, this path was not easy to walk on. Those places had already suffered heavy casualties. Zi-Chen had reason to believe that with MCMAU's connections, he had discovered the abnormality in advance. After 2 hours, everyone finished resting and began to climb the mountain. Rays of light fell from the sky and turned into Devil Clan creatures. Emotian looked at the Devil Clan creatures in front of him and said coldly, "Everyone, don't hold back. Attack with all your might." Zi-Chen had a Demon Clan saber in his hand. This was the spoils of war he obtained after killing a 9-star Saint Spirit Demon Snake Guard commander. The broadsword had already undergone a small refinement, and at this moment it had merged with Zi-Chen's aura, so no flaws could be seen. "I'll go first." Zi-Chen gripped his large saber and rushed forward. Demonic energy surged on the saber, and a powerful aura flowed out. Wong! The long blade in Zi-Chen's hand trembled, and his magic power began to surge. Circles of ripples spread out with him as the center. At that moment, everyone nearby felt threatened, including the 9-star Saint Spirits. World annihilation slash. With a low shout, a black demon chi burst out. The demonic chi instantly pierced through the bodies of the 2 demonic creatures in front of him and sent the 3rd flying. When the saber light disappeared, Zi-Chen's face immediately turned pale. His aura also became extremely weak, and his body staggered, almost falling. He held his saber in one hand and walked forward, picking up the two pure energy lights. However, he did not take them both. He only kept one of them and threw the other to Mo Xian, who was stunned. I don't have the strength to attack for now. The rest is up to you. Zi Qin walked toward the back of the team, his face still pale. His saber strike had shocked many people. Mo Xian was a little scared. He thought that this guy was not much, but he did not expect him to be so powerful. Fortunately, it was only one strike. If he could be so powerful for more than 10 consecutive strikes, how terrifying would that be? There was also a look of surprise in Mo Wudu's eyes. At that moment, a sense of appreciation for talent was born in his heart. An 8-star already had such combat strength. What if he reached 9-star? He glanced at the fiend celestial beast beside him. The latter's eyes seemed to be filled with disdain. Zi Chan walked to the back of the team after his saber strike. He was considered safe now. The others continued to attack. Some people were injured, and soon there were casualties. After one person died, Mo Wudu said in a low voice, "Continue to advance. I'll give the dead person an extra royal power. When the time comes, I'll have someone send it back to his family. Also, the spoils that belong to him will be sent back as well." Initially, there were still people who wanted to collect their companions' corpses. However, after hearing Mo Wudu's words, they dismissed the idea. After all, he was in existence with a fiend celestial beast. He would not care about these resources, so it was necessary to keep his word. Mo Wudu's people went forward and collected the corpses. As they reached the top, one existence after another died in battle. The first to die were 7 stars. After the team was reorganized again and again, the number of people became fewer and fewer. When they reached 1/3 of the summit, Zi Qin, whose face had become rosy, walked back into the team. However, he only followed the team and did not attack immediately. Because his techniques were too powerful, they could only serve as a deterrent, or he could only attack at the critical moment. It was unknown whether it was intentional or not, but Zi Qin still stayed beside Mo Xian and the others. This made them feel more at ease. After a cup of tea's worth of time, danger struck. Just as death enveloped them, a black waterfall lit up. 3 demonic tribe creatures lost their heads and became 3 forces. When the danger disappeared, Mo Xian and the others had lingering fear on their faces. When they looked at the pale-faced Zi Qin again, there was only gratitude in their eyes. If it were not for Zi Qin, they would have been annihilated. Zi Qin continued to retreat, not even taking the 3 forces. The 3 9-star saint spirits who followed him divided these forces. Zi Qin, who was walking out of the team, swallowed a demonic tribe medicinal pill so that he could recover quickly. When they reached 2/3 of the summit, Zi Qin recovered once again. This time he joined the team and did not use any killing moves. Instead, he used ordinary strength to resist. This was because if he attacked now and became weak, the others would definitely not give him a chance to rest. Too many people had died. Perhaps after they reached the summit, there would not be many people left alive. After a long battle and sacrificing the lives of many saint venerables, the team finally reached the summit. There were 5 9-star saint spirits left, and 4 of them were from MCMAU. As for the 8-star saint spirits, there were only 4 left, and these 4 were from the same team. Mo Xian was still alive. This was because Zi Qin had helped them several times during this period. That was why the 4 of them were able to survive. At this moment, their eyes were filled with gratitude toward Zi Qin. If it were not for Zi Qin, they would have died long ago. However, just as they reached the summit, before they could react, a tall demonic figure appeared in front of them. The figure was 3 feet tall, and the aura emitted from its body was extremely terrifying. Everyone's expression changed. In the previous battle, they were already severely injured. Now that they did not have much strength left, how could they fight against such a powerful existence? Someone looked back at MCMAU. Until now, he had not made a move and had been conserving his strength. His fiend celestial beast was obviously very powerful, but had been following behind without making a move. The only 9-star saint spirit present said, "Sir, we have no more strength to fight. We hope you can help us." This time they had recruited many 9-star saint spirits, but only one of them was alive. The other 4 were originally from MCMAU. You've all done well. After I kill this beast, everyone will be rewarded. MCMAU walked forward. The fiend celestial beast slowed down slightly. The 4 9-star saint spirits stepped aside, and MCMAU walked forward alone. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. There was no need to fight anymore. Zichen was the only one who knew that everyone's mission had been completed. Next, it was time for them to show their true colors. Their lives began to count down. MCMAU was worthy of having a fiend celestial beast. He only used one punch to repel the tall creature. A ripple spread out, bringing with it a terrifying hurricane. The few people nearby retreated, as if they could not even stand properly. The tall creature immediately retreated, stumbling. MCMAU was also pushed back a few steps. His face was slightly pale, and his right hand that had punched was trembling slightly. The fiend celestial beast that had appeared behind him unknowingly opened its mouth. As if a huge black hole had opened, it swallowed his opponent in one gulp. When the retreating crowd saw this, they could not help but be stunned. The biggest threat was taken care of just like that. This was too powerful. Everyone was shocked, but they also felt melancholy. If they had attacked earlier, they believed that at least half of the people here would have died. This sadness disappeared in a flash. It was not easy to fight their way to the top of the mountain and survive. Now, it was time to reap the rewards. At this moment, MCMAU came back to his senses. Everyone's faces were filled with anticipation. However, MCMAU only snorted coldly. This stunned everyone, and they were somewhat puzzled. MCMAU walked forward. When he reached the top, ripples appeared, and then the ripples turned into a passageway. Looking at the passageway in front of him, MCMAU's eyes were filled with fanaticism. The fiend celestial beast that had just swallowed a powerful creature was also breathing faster. The real opportunity was in this place. When the others saw the passageway in front of them, they were all very surprised. They were very concerned about the power of the royalty, but they did not disturb MCMAU at this moment. Instead, they waited quietly. However, what they waited for was MCMAU taking a step forward and disappearing with the fiend celestial beast. "Sir, this?" asked the 9-star saint spirit. However, before he could finish a sentence, a sharp blade appeared behind him and pierced through his back, completely penetrating his heart. The 9-star Holy Spirit turned around slowly and glanced at the person who attacked. Just a moment ago, they were still fighting side by side. Emoshien and the others were shocked. He shouted out involuntarily, "What are you doing?" Zichen said calmly from the side, "Is there a need to ask?" "Of course, we're silencing them and robbing them of their resources." "Are you really waiting for them to keep their promise?" Shi Li, who had killed the 9-star Holy Spirit, turned around and smiled at Zichen. "Smart." Emoshien and the other two's expressions changed drastically. "Why is that? Didn't we have an agreement before?" The 3 began to retreat. They were already injured and had consumed a lot of energy. How could they be a match for 4 9-star Holy Spirits? Suddenly, Emoshien saw Zichen and realized that he was fearless. He did not know whether Zichen had the strength or not, so he immediately shouted, "Sir, save me!" The other 2 also had pleading looks on their faces. Shi Li said disdainfully, "Count on him? He's the same as you guys. He's just an 8-star Holy Spirit. He can't even protect himself now." Zichen glanced at the 3 and said, "The reason why I saved you guys is to let you know that even if you don't die in battle, you'll still die in the end. When they were recruiting you guys, they had this idea and thought. Do you really think the power of the royalty is that easy to obtain? It's just bait to lure you guys into it and bury your own lives. Even if you're lucky enough to survive, they'll stab you in the back. Zichen sighed. It's impossible to get the resources because they're all theirs, including your harvest. Mo Xian and the other two were in despair. Shili smiled. I didn't expect you to be so smart. I don't want to kill you anymore. Zichen glanced at Mo Xian and said, although I have the ability to save you now, I'm sorry I don't plan to do so. Because you guys had ideas about me before, you deserve to die. The three were even more desperate. It was the despair after seeing hope. Zichen paused for a moment and said, but don't worry, you won't die in vain. Not only will I kill the four of them to avenge you, but I'll also kill Mo Wudu and his fiend celestial beast to avenge you. Just like how they invited you to join the team. You're destined to die. Since I've joined the team, they're destined to die. Hearing this, Mo Xian and the other two did not know whether to laugh or cry. Shili laughed. This is the biggest joke I've heard in my life. Zichen added, and the last joke. Suddenly, Zichen said, no, you can hear one more joke. You know that the demonic snake guards suffered heavy casualties and even many 9-star commanders died, right? Zichen pointed at himself. I was the one who killed those people. It's a joke, right? Zichen's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was at the back of Shi Li's group. With a loud bang, a 9-star saint spirit who tried to escape through the passage was forcefully pushed back. After landing, he began coughing up blood. His face was filled with horror. The other three's faces changed. They immediately turned to look at Zichen. Their expressions became solemn. At this moment, no one thought that Zichen was joking. You ran away in fear when others said a few jokes. Are you still a 9-star saint spirit? Zichen held the long saber and smiled faintly. There are more jokes. Keep listening. This saber is not my weapon. I got it from killing a 9-star commander. It's my trophy, but it's enough to kill all of you. The expressions of the 4 9-star saint spirits began to change. Zichen added, did you guys think that my saber strike was quite strong and posed quite a threat to you guys? To tell you the truth, I can use that kind of saber strike 1,000 times without feeling tired. The 4 were in despair. At this moment, the black saber flashed and illuminated their eyes. Chapter 42:19. Now that MCMAU had entered the Devil God's relic, the real opportunity had just begun. Looking at the densely packed Devil Clan creatures in front of him, MCMAU sneered. The real danger has begun. Something appeared in his hand. It was a small black bowl, about the size of a palm. Devil power surged into the small bowl, and it immediately flew into the air and began to expand. Then, one figure after another appeared. These were all devils, and their auras were strong. The weakest among them was an 8-star Holy Spirit, and their auras were very close. They were all well-trained. These were MCMAU's real trump cards. The ones he had recruited before were just cannon fodder. Why aren't they back yet? MCMAU looked behind him. The 4 of them should not have taken so long to deal with this. Whatever, let's kill our way in first. Obviously, he was not willing to waste his time for these 4 people. 3 9-star Holy Spirits had fallen, and only Shili was left. Mo Xian and the other 2 were still alive, but they did not feel happy because Zichen had made it clear that no one would survive in the end. Zichen kept the corpses of the 3 9-star Holy Spirits and smiled faintly. Look, I'm the one who has the last laugh. Shili no longer had the arrogance from before. At this moment, his eyes were full of fear. The reason he was still alive was not because of how strong he was, but because Zichen had held back. It was on purpose. Zichen looked at the 4 people and said, which one of you will die first? Mo Xian begged in fear. Sir, please spare my life. I was wrong. I'm willing to give you everything I have. Chen said faintly. After I kill you, your things are still mine. Tell me who will die first. Emo Xian wanted to beg again. Chen said, I'll tell you another secret. I'm not actually from the Devil Clan. I'm from the Spirit Clan. The reason why I came to the Devil Clan is to destroy this plan. At this moment, Emo Xian was completely desperate. He no longer begged for mercy. After knowing this biggest secret, he believed that he would not be able to survive. Since he couldn't live, he might as well accept his death. He pointed at Shili and said, Can you cut this guy into 8 pieces? Shili angrily said, You are courting death. Emo Xian laughed coldly and said, It's all because of you, damn you. You tricked us into joining you. So what if we cut you into 8 pieces? He looked at the other two and said, What do you think? The two immediately nodded in agreement. The minority obeys the majority. Chen took out his saber and cut off one of Shili's arms. The second cut off both of his arms and legs. Emo Xian and the other two laughed sinisterly. At this moment, they were feeling extremely carefree. This could be considered as someone taking revenge for him. Shili began to curse. Chen cut a few more times, and it was exactly 8 pieces. Shili's soul was destroyed, and he died. Chen put away the incomplete corpse. These corpses could be used to condense the power of the demon race. Most importantly, they had the harvest of everyone before. Chen looked at the 3 of them. Since we're all on the same team, I'll let the 3 of you kill yourselves. Or rather, if you want to fight it out, that's fine too. Pooh, pooh. 2 sharp blades, one on the left and one on the right, pierced through the bodies of the 2 people beside him. Emo Xian held the blades in his hands with a sinister smile on his face. The 2 people fell into a pool of blood. Chen's expression was calm. Plop! Emo Xian knelt on the ground and said, Please spare my life. From now on, I will be your slave or servant. It will all be up to you. Chen shook his head and said, I don't need it. Kill yourself. Emo Xian unwillingly said, Please reconsider. Emo Xian will be loyal to you until death. Chen continued to shake his head. I don't dare to accept your loyalty. Then you can go die. A cold light suddenly flew out from the ground under Chen's feet and slanted towards Chen's chin. This was a forceful attempt to pierce through Chen's head. Emo Xian's eyes were fixed in front of him. His expression was sinister and filled with endless hatred. 2 fingers forcefully pinched the sharp blade, causing Emo Xian's attack to miss. Chen said indifferently, Until you reach a certain height, you won't know what kind of power we have. What you think is a covert action is a complete joke to me. A black light flew out from Chen's sea of consciousness. It turned into a black soul lightsaber and sank into Emo Xian's sea of consciousness. Emo Xian's widened eyes immediately lost their luster. The trembling sharp blade also calmed down under Chen's 2 fingers. Emo Xian raised his head and fell down. Chen walked forward and collected the 3 corpses. At this point, all the rewards of MCMAU's recruitment were in Chen's hands. Chen looked at the passageway in front of him that had not yet closed and said, MCMU, it's your turn now. Chen walked into the passageway. With a series of ripples, Chen appeared in an empty space. There were traces of a battle ahead, but MCMAU's figure was nowhere to be seen. It seemed that during the time he was delayed, the other party had already gone deep in. Chen looked at these traces of a battle and realized that they were not left behind by one person. It seemed that a large army had passed through here. Chen was not surprised. Looks like MCMAU brought people here. Initially, Chen found it strange. Based on MCMAU's network, how could they only bring 4 9-star Saint Spirits over? Now he understood. Chen walked forward. However, just as he arrived at the battlefield, a bright light shone down. The demonic creatures that had been cleaned up before had appeared, once again. Moreover, there were quite a number of them. Looking at these devil clan creatures, Zichen was a little surprised. He was slightly startled, but he did not pay too much attention to it because in the next moment he called out the specter again. Seeing these devil clan creatures, the specter's eyes began to shine. Without needing Zichen's instructions, the specter charged forward. This time, it did not use its killing technique. Although it could not kill a group at once, its combat strength was not weak at all. Zichen walked forward. A black hurricane appeared beside him. This hurricane was not created by Zichen using his power, but by the specter's high-speed rotation. All the devil clan creatures that rushed toward Zichen would be killed and then devoured by the specter. It was just that the specter's speed was so fast that its body disappeared, leaving only after images. Previously, MCMAU was unwilling to take action himself because he wanted to preserve his strength. Right now, Zichen was also planning to do the same. However, the specter beside him was already comparable to MCMAU's entire demonic tribe army. Zichen walked directly toward the end. Along the way, his soul explored the surroundings, but did not find any opportunities. It seemed that he had to keep walking. Chapter 42:20. A black basilica appeared in front of MCMAU. More than half of the great army he brought with him had died in battle, and the rest were also badly wounded. It was not easy to make it here. It required countless lives to fill in. Fortunately, he had finally made it here. If the news is true, then there's something left behind by the demon god in this basilica. As long as I bring the fiend celestial beast, I can take it away without a hitch. MCMAU's eyes became fanatical. At this moment, there was a strange movement behind him. It's them. MCMAU turned around. His field of vision was empty. He released his soul power and found something unusual. His expression changed. It's him. Within the range of his soul power, Zichen was killing the enemy alone. The place where the great army had cleared out earlier was filled with demon tribe creatures. While he was surprised, MCMAU was also shocked. He could make it here because of the great army beside him. However, Zichen was alone. How did he make it here? What about Shi Li and the others? Why did they not appear? The four of them working together should be able to kill a mere 8-star Holy Spirit. Initially, he had planned to look for the opportunity immediately. However, he decided to postpone it. After all, no one would come here again. He would see what Zichen had up his sleeves. Zichen had not appeared in his field of vision yet, but MCMAU could see him clearly with his soul power. Gradually, his expression changed again. Those demon tribe creatures could not get close to Zichen at all. Any existence that tried to rush toward Zichen would be sent flying by Zichen. MCMAU could see Zichen with his soul power. Of course, Zichen could see him as well. He had noticed MCMAU even earlier, so he had Spectre hide again. He faced the demon tribe creatures alone for the rest of the journey. He had also noticed the basilica and noticed MCMAU's gaze. He could even see the subtle changes in the other party's expression clearly. He moved forward at a steady pace. In his mind, he was thinking about how to catch all those people in one fell swoop. Zichen finally appeared in his field of vision, and all the demons were finally cleared out. MCMAU looked at Zichen and said indifferently, "I didn't expect you to have such combat strength. You hit it well." "Your men are all dead," said Zichen. "It's your turn now." "Really?" MCMAU laughed mockingly. "You want to kill me? Have you asked them?" The people who were still recuperating got up one by one and stood in front of Zichen. Murderous intent started to surge around them. Zichen said, "They are already so seriously injured, and you still want them to fight?" "MCW do. I advise you to be kind. How about this? You and I will fight to the death. After you die, I promise to let them all live." "MO, Wudu coldly said, "Your plan to sow discord is useless against them. If I die here today, they won't be able to leave alive." "I see." Zi-Chun nodded, indicating that he understood. Then he looked at the great hall in front of him and asked, "What is that?" "Do you think I'll tell you?" asked MCMAU. Zi-Chun said, "Between you and me, one of us has to die. If you die, you'll take the secret here with you. Isn't that a pity?" "Of course, if you have the ability to kill me, the secret will still be yours alone." "Why? Do you not have confidence in yourself, or do you feel fear in your heart?" MCMAU snorted. "I don't know who you are, or what trump cards you used to get here, but I know very well that you will definitely die." Zi-Chun said, "Then let's share the secret here." MCMAU glanced at his subordinates. He had not given the order to fight yet, so they were still standing where they were, recuperating. He said, "As you can see, there's a great hall here. Legend has it that the devil god built it specially back then and left something in the great hall." Zi-Chun asked, "How do you know?" "You don't have to worry about that." MCMAU said, "There's more than one great hall like this, so whether there is anything good in it, it all depends on luck." He pointed to the great hall behind him and said, "Only by walking here can you be considered to have truly stepped into the devil god's ruins. The things before are nothing. Legend has it that only by obtaining the thing inside can you be qualified to obtain the devil god's final legacy and ultimately become the new devil god." This was a secret. It was even a huge secret. It was also the devil world's biggest secret, and MCMAU had told Zi-Chun just like that. From this point, it was enough to see the other party's complete confidence in winning. Zi-Chun shook his head and said, "What a pity." "What's a pity?" asked MCMAU. "It seems that the devil god really put in a lot of effort for the future development of the devil clan. First, it was as if he had given away his power for free, then this great hall. Unfortunately, because of your greed, you wanted to take everything for yourself, causing the death of countless holy spirits. A resource that was supposed to make you strong, but it became something that harmed you. You really wasted the devil god's painstaking efforts." Zi-Chun sighed, feeling very regretful. After this incident, Zi-Chun believed that the devil world would definitely be affected. Even the speed of their attack on the Holy Spirit world would have to be slowed down. MCMAU laughed coldly. "So what? Those who died were just some outsiders. As long as we can grow stronger, it's fine." Zi-Chun could not refute that MCMAU was wrong, because this was what most people thought. The devil world was like this, and so was the Holy Spirit world. MCMAU pointed behind him and said, "I'll be waiting for you inside with the resources left behind by the devil god. Don't let me down, okay?" After saying that, MCMAU turned around and walked into the depths. Those who had been temporarily healed earlier charged at Zi-Chun. Zi-Chun looked at these people and shook his head in pity. "Why are you in such a hurry to die?" He immediately retreated, and behind him an open passage appeared. Zi-Chun entered the passage. The devil clan could not help but look stunned, as if they were hesitating. At this moment, the passage began to close. They no longer hesitated and entered madly. The passage came from Zi-Chun's great hall. At this moment, Zi-Chun was standing in his own great hall. Su the hall spirit looked at Zi-Chun and said, "Unhappily, you're cheating." Zi-Chun said, "Isn't this a special time?" "Of course, special treatment is needed. The devil god's ruins are of no use to you. Why do you care so much?" Su the hall spirit said, "Speaking of which, you still don't want to fight." Chapter 42:21. Back then, when Zi-Chun saw MCMAU's fiend celestial beast, his expression became strange. That was because it was clearly a standing pig, or rather a battle pig. It looked very funny, but everyone was very shocked. At that time, Zi-Chun looked down on that pig, but its aura was very similar to Spectre's. Of course, Spectre's aura was much purer than its. It was not easy for Chen to obtain the spirit. Part of it was the mysterious ghost spirit holy talisman, while the other part was formed from the ghost spirit cultivation method. After various fortuitous encounters, the two finally merged to form the spirit. Chen had witnessed the strength of Spectre. Back then, he was lost in that world because of Spectre's soul-devouring technique, but Spectre was not lost. It reminded him several times to wake him up. This time, MCMAU came here to find opportunities with the help of that pig. Chen had a Spectre with a pure aura, so naturally he wanted to give it a try. The Hall spirit glanced at Chen and said, "Just this once." Chen grinned, and his figure disappeared into thin air. The demons who entered this place would never be able to leave, and they would never be able to survive. After appearing, Chen walked forward. The door of the main hall was already closed. He walked to the door, exerted force with both hands, and pushed forward. The door of the main hall opened slowly, and Chen walked in. In Chen's field of vision, there were some corpses lying haphazardly. Those corpses were incomplete, probably the work of that pig beside MCMAU. The air was filled with a considerable amount of pressure. Every step forward seemed to be carrying a heavy load. If what happened before was an opportunity, then this was a test. MCMAU could kill its way in, proving that it had some tricks up its sleeve. Of course, it was only a few tricks. The main hall in front was closed. Chen walked to the door. He pushed the door again. A torrent seemed to appear in front of him, and countless lights appeared in Chen's field of vision. A powerful black claw appeared in the light, going straight for Chen's neck. Chen raised his palm, and magic bloomed in his palm. With a loud bang, Chen took a few steps back. The light in front of him disappeared. Chen saw the pig-like fiend celestial beast. There was a hint of surprise in its blood-red eyes. Chen looked ahead through the open palace doors. He saw MCMAU standing there, his entire body bathed in black light, as if he was receiving some kind of inheritance. Chen's figure disappeared. In the next moment, he arrived in front of the fiend celestial beast. With a loud bang, the fiend celestial beast was sent flying. Its body smashed into Mo Wudu's body, interrupting the other party's opportunity. Of course, when he saw he was in the end. When he saw Chen, he was in the end, and in the end he came here. He was alone. He came here to obtain the opportunity here alone. To prevent that, who would have thought that the other party would arrive so quickly? You're courting death. The Fiend Celestial's inheritance was interrupted. MCMAU was enraged. With a roar, he charged toward Chen. Above his clenched fist, a demonic shadow appeared. A powerful aura enveloped the surroundings. Chen's expression did not change when he saw this punch. He clenched his fist and attacked. His punch was not as violent as MCMAU's. However, when he punched, the surrounding space seemed to have changed. MCMAU's expression changed. This was caused by the power being condensed to a limit. He did not expect the other party, who was only an 8-star, to have such brilliant control of power. Chen's punch looked steady and not fast. However, the oppressive aura made it impossible for MCMAU to change his move. The two fists met and energy surged out. A magic ripple visible to the naked eye wreaked havoc in the hall. Chen's body swayed slightly as he stood on the spot, while Mo Wudu took a few steps back. "Is this your power?" "That's all there is to it." Chen smiled faintly. His tone was calm, but the sarcasm was obvious. That punch was not weak, but in the Saint Spirit realm, it was far from the top of the group of people. "Who exactly are you?" MCMAU looked at Chen in shock. An 8-star could force him to retreat. This was the first time in his life. "After being tricked by you, I'm angry and decided to fight back and take revenge," Chen said with a smile. "You're courting death." MCMAU's single eye flashed coldly. He began to form a seal in his hand. A huge demonic spear loomed. The oppressive aura around them became stronger. The floor of the hall seemed to have begun to tremble slightly. Zichen looked at MCMAU quietly. He did not deliberately accumulate power. Go to hell. The long spear trembled and charged toward Zichen like a bolt of black lightning. The distance between the two parties was not far. At this moment, MCMAU attacked with all his might. This attack arrived in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the fiend celestial beast that quietly appeared behind Zichen also launched an attack at Zichen. Looks like you've used this move quite often. You've connected it well. Zichen smiled faintly. He did not seem to use any force, but two rays of light appeared on their own. One of them turned into an ancient shield and appeared behind Zichen on its own, blocking the fiend celestial beast's attack. A long spear appeared in front of Zichen. He used the spear as a staff and immediately smashed it down. With a boom, the long spear that was completely condensed from demonic power exploded. After the ancient shield blasted away the fiend celestial beast, it arrived in front of Zichen. Zichen held a spear and a shield in one hand. He looked at MCMAU with a slightly provocative gaze. What other tricks do you have? Feel free to use them. MCMAU's expression began to change. What? Do you have a trump card that you can't bear to use? Zichen's figure disappeared into thin air. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the pig-like fiend celestial beast. Two flashes of light could be seen. During this time, the sound of power colliding could be heard. After about 100 collisions, the fiend celestial beast was sent flying and its body crashed heavily onto the ground. The fiend celestial beast fell to the ground and coughed up blood. It was no match for Zichen at all. MCMAU, whose expression had changed, no longer hesitated. With a wave of his hand, a pagoda appeared in front of him. The pagoda was 7 stories tall, and its surface was flowing with demonic light. Suppress! MCMAU roared angrily. The pagoda flew high into the sky and expanded wildly. The rules in the surroundings seemed to be drawn in. Zichen felt his body being restrained. Just as he was slightly surprised, the pagoda descended from the sky and enveloped Zichen. At this moment, at the lowest level of the pagoda, a human-shaped pattern appeared. It was Zichen's appearance, like a carving. Damn it! I actually have to waste a demon suppression pagoda to kill you. What a loss! Chapter 42:22. Zichen's body was already enveloped by the pagoda. The black pagoda began to shrink, spinning in the air until it was the size of an ordinary pagoda. Mo Wudu waved his hand, and the pagoda landed in his hand. Looking at the seal on the first layer that belonged to Zichen, a look of pain flashed across his eyes. D**M*, this was prepared for dealing with a half-step, holy venerable. I didn't expect to use it on an idiot like you first. Mo Wudu said, unhappily, this is a huge loss. This pagoda was one of his trump cards, reserved for great use. Unexpectedly at this moment, cracks suddenly appeared on the pagoda where Zichen had engraved the seal. This made Mo Wudu's expression change abruptly. Even against a half-step holy venerate, Xiao Chen's pagoda could hold its ground. How could it not trap a mere 8-star holy spirit? With a loud boom, the pagoda's layer that sealed Zichen shattered, and the powerful force directly pushed Mo Wudu back. The pagoda began to spin in the air, and a ray of light flew out from the shattered layer. It was Zichen. He glanced at the pagoda and said, "Your power is not bad, but if you want to trap me, you're still a little lacking." Mo Wudu's hand seals appeared again, and the shattered layer of the pagoda fell off on its own. The original 7-story pagoda turned into a 6-story pagoda. The 6-story pagoda's surface glowed, and it looked like a complete hole. There was no sign of damage at all. Zichen was rather surprised by this. Let's see how many times you can break it. Mo Wudu's single eye flashed coldly, and he once again controlled the pagoda to fall toward Zichen. As expected, Zichen was trapped inside. This time, Mo Wudu did not dare to be careless. He immediately used his soul power to start sealing the pagoda layer by layer, but it was useless. After just 3 breaths, the pagoda exploded. It was still the layer that trapped Zichen that was forcibly broken through. Let's try again. Zichen, who had successfully escaped, looked at Mo Wudu and said. Mo Wudu gritted his teeth and continued to control the pagoda. The 6-story pagoda turned into a 5-story pagoda and then trapped Zichen inside. Boom! Zichen forcibly broke open the pagoda. At that moment, the pagoda had 4 floors. Countless black lights were flowing on its surface. Even though the number of floors was very low, for some reason, it gave Zichen a powerful feeling. Do you dare to try again? MCMAU asked alone. Then let's do it again, Zichen said in a low voice. MCMAU alone controlled the 4-story pagoda to descend. Seeing that Zichen was about to be enveloped by the pagoda, the corners of his mouth could not help but curl up into a smile as if his scheme had succeeded. This pagoda was no ordinary pagoda. Once it reached the 4th level, it would no longer seal the power of one level, but the power of all 4 levels at the same time. Under such circumstances, they could safely trap a half-step Holy Venerate. Although it was somewhat wasteful to deal with Zichen, this seemed to be the only way. When the 4-story pagoda fell, Zichen's figure disappeared. MCMAU laughed alone. Just then, a mocking voice rang out from behind him. Aren't you smiling a little too early? Demonic light flowed on MCMAU's body. He immediately turned around. A fist whistled through the air and landed on his opponent's face. It directly sent MCMAU flying. The 4-story pagoda, which had missed its target, continued to rise into the air and descend toward Zichen. Do you really think I'm stupid? Zichen laughed disdainfully. His figure disappeared again, avoiding the pagoda's seal. However, the 4-story pagoda followed him like a shadow. It seemed that it would not disappear until it caught Zichen. Zichen appeared in several places, and the pagoda followed. Since you want to follow me so much, I'll accept you. Zichen's figure disappeared again. However, at the place where he disappeared, a ripple passage appeared. The 4-story pagoda crashed into it. When it encountered the ripple, it sensed that something was wrong and wanted to escape. With palace spirits around, Zichen did not even look at the pagoda. Unless the pagoda was a venerable level, true treasure, personally refined by a holy venerable, it would not be able to escape the seal of the Zichen palace. MCMAU lost his sense of the pagoda. His heart trembled. This guy named Zichen had given him too many surprises today. He glanced at the fiend celestial beast. The fiend celestial beast charged toward Zichen again. The spear was like a stick drawing a half arc in the sky. With a bang, the fiend celestial beast flew backward. It was no match for him at all. MCMAU said, "Forget it. I'll admit that you have great power. It's time for us to show our strength." The fiend celestial beast stood up and looked at Zichen with resentment. MCMAU continued, "At first, I thought that I had many trump cards on me. This time, I should be able to go far. Along the way, I deliberately did not use too much power. I didn't expect to meet you. If that's the case, then I'll treat you as my mortal enemy." The fiend celestial beast turned into a ray of light and flew toward MCMAU, disappearing into his long robe. Then, an indescribably strong aura erupted from MCMAU's body. Is this the fusion technique? Zichen's expression became serious. At this moment, MCMAU gave him a strong sense of threat. This was something that had never happened before. After all, after advancing to 8 star, Zichen's combat strength was already unrivaled among holy spirits. Go to hell! MCMAU smashed down with a fist the force of his fist rolling toward him. In front of Zichen, a light shield bloomed, blocking in front of him. Just a mere demonic weapon. Watch how I break it. With a loud bang, Zichen's figure retreated. The light on the light shield gradually faded, but it was still intact. This weapon had an extraordinary origin. It was not something that a mere 9-star Holy Spirit could break. Then let's do it again. MCMAU threw 3 consecutive punches. Zichen retreated continuously, but the light shield was still intact. The quality is not bad. I'll take it. MCMAU laughed. Zichen said sarcastically. His figure flashed, his feet moving strangely, quickly approaching MCMAU. The spear and shield in his hands disappeared at the same time, and he only used his fists. You have a death wish. MCMAU's attack landed, but Zichen dodged it instantly, punching toward the opponent's side. Combat arts. After one punch, Zichen's figure flashed again, followed by a second punch and a third punch. After 10 punches in a row, MCMAU's figure began to stagger, unable to maintain his center of gravity. Zichen was still punching, neither fast nor slow. Soon, 15 punches had been thrown. His punches came one after another, and the power in them kept pouring in. During this time, there would always be a portion of energy that would be quietly hidden. This was the essence of combat arts. After 30 punches, MCMAU's attacks became fewer and fewer. After 50 punches, almost all of them were in a defensive state. After 80 punches, MCMAU could no longer control his own body. After that, each of Zichen's punches was full force, hitting his opponent until he continuously changed directions. After the 90th punch, MCMAU's body smashed into the ground. Zichen, whose face was slightly pale, said, "Die." A light erupted from MCMAU's body, and his body was split into 2. Chapter 42:23. Mo Wudu stood up awkwardly. The fiend celestial beast beside him was dispirited, no longer as arrogant as before. Zichen looked at the man and beast, asking, "How do you feel?" Mo Wudu's eyes were full of resentment. This unknown guy had extraordinarily strong combat power, but in the entire Saint Spirit realm, he had never heard of such a person. Who was he? Where did he come from? This was the question that Mo Wudu wanted to know the most, but there was no point in asking now, because one of them had to die, and it had to be Zichen. Mo Wudu looked at Zichen and said coldly, "I admit that you're the biggest enemy I've ever met, so today you must die." Zichen said lightly, "Because you're seriously injured now." Nkuta pointed at the top of his head and said, "Earlier, even though you interrupted my opportunity, I still have some connection with this place and know what the inheritance here is. Now, even if I risk the backlash of the inheritance, I still have to kill you, right? Because right now, nothing is more important than one's own life." Zichen wanted to say that there was nothing wrong with the other party's logic, but it was useless in front of him. Mo Wudu looked at the fiend celestial beast again, saying, "Old friend, I'll have to trouble you. We have to live, don't we?" The fiend celestial beast coughed up 3 mouthfuls of blood. These 3 mouthfuls were all essence blood. After spitting it out, its aura became even more dispirited, as if even its realm had dropped. The essence blood spread in the sky, turning into a bloody mist that flew into the sky. The bloody mist turned into an eye in the sky, a bloody eye. At the same time, the fiend celestial beast merged with Mo Wudu again. During this time, Mo Wudu kept coughing up blood. It could be seen that after merging again, the other party's condition became very bad. His face was pale and his spirit was dispirited, but his eyes were still full of resentment when he looked at Zichen. "Go to hell." In the sky, the bloody eye began to shine. At the same time, there was a power that floated down from the palace. That power was mysterious and powerful, It was the true power of the demon god. Under the infusion of the demon god's power, the bloody eye became the eye of the demon god. The blood-red eye glowed as it looked at Zichen. Zichen, who was already on guard, felt a strange power enter his eyes and then his sea of consciousness. He stood there motionlessly as the light in his eyes slowly faded away. "What are you doing?" Zichen looked at the young boy in front of him, a look of panic in his eyes. "Zichen, we're brothers," the young man said with a laugh, then strode forward. He opened his arms and wanted to hug Zichen. Zichen didn't know why, but when he saw his good brother in front of him, he actually felt a sense of resistance. He really wanted to retreat and get rid of the other party, but his body wasn't under his control. The young man approached him and gave him a firm hug. In this cold and windy world, he could clearly feel the warmth of the hug. At this moment, the resistance in his heart seemed to lessen. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. It was as if a sharp blade had pierced through his heart. The good brother in front of him had a sinister smile on his face, like an evil spirit that had crawled out of the abyss. "Brother, don't blame me. For the sake of survival, I can only sacrifice you." The young man gently pushed Zichen. Zichen's body slowly retreated. Before he fell into the cliff, he called out the young man's name. Zhao Ken, the young man's smile was brilliant like a flower, but also like a delicate flower of death. Zichen fell into the snow and fainted. Not long after, he woke up. He glanced at his already healed wound. "I'm Zichen. I'm the undying Zichen." He stood up, patted the snow off his body, and walked out of the valley. He returned to his sect and began to work hard on his cultivation. During this time, he felt as if he had forgotten something. Then, on his way out, he found a stalk of snow ginseng. The snow ginseng was guarded by wild beasts. He couldn't fight them alone, so he called his good brother over. The two of them went in search of opportunities, looking forward to entering the inner sect together. The two of them stood on top of a mountain. When they saw the undamaged snow ginseng in the distance, they embraced. In the end, it became an embrace of death. Zichen looked at the dagger in his chest, then slowly retreated. Before he fell into the cliff, he called out Zhao Can's name. Not long after he fell into the cliff, Zichen woke up again. "I'm Zichen. I'm the undying," he muttered. Even though he himself didn't know what was going on, he still didn't know. After returning to the sect, he began to work hard on his cultivation. Unfortunately, his talent wasn't high and his progress was slow. He could only rely on external objects, and so he found a stalk of snow ginseng. Next to it was a wild beast. He decided to ask his good brother for help, and the two of them entered the inner sect together. In this great hall, everything fell silent. Zichen's eyes were lifeless. He stood there motionless. Because MCMAU had to control the eye with the demon god's power above his head, he had to pay a heavy price. Both of them didn't move. Zichen couldn't move, and MCMAU couldn't do anything. After activating this move, the price to pay was beyond imagination. Fortunately, the effect was not bad. Every time the eye above his head flashed, it would take away Zichen's life force. At this moment, Zichen was obviously in some kind of illusory state, unable to extricate himself. If there were no other accidents, Zichen's life force would be obliterated and disappear just like that. This was the power and horror of the demon god's eye. It could silently and painlessly cause a person to die. Since his body couldn't move, MCMAU couldn't quickly move forward to give Zichen the final fatal blow. However, he was still in a good mood. This was because, looking at the current situation, Zichen was only a hair's breadth away from death. He would die just like that. Zichen's life force was slipping away, but he couldn't feel it. He could only keep repeating that strange scene. His consciousness was trapped in it, and he couldn't wake up for a long time. This was the biggest crisis Zichen had encountered since he came here. If no accident happened, Zichen would really die here. However, that accident happened. After countless revivals, Zi-Chen's consciousness was still not clear. When his soul sensed the danger, it automatically put up a defense. His soul power also began to circulate wildly, like a violent vortex erupting from his consciousness. The life force that was slipping away was rapidly being devoured. At the same time, the power that belonged to the surroundings was also being devoured by Zi-Chen's soul power. This included the remaining demon god's power in this great hall. As a wisp of the demon god's power entered his body, this power was not directly refined by Zi-Chen. Instead, it entered Zi-Chen's eyes. Chapter 42:24. A red light flashed in Zi-Chen's eyes. His consciousness was separated from the circular environment. Looking at the eye that was still floating in front of him and recalling the previous scene, Zi-Chen felt a lingering fear. He had almost died in this place. However, it was also a coincidence that allowed him to understand the true meaning of the demon eye. The reason why he could wake up now was also because of the demon eye. As expected, it was not an easy task to comprehend the demon eye. The prerequisite for success was the help and guidance of a demon god's power. In other words, it was to open the door. Only when this power opened the door could one walk in. After successfully comprehending the demon eye on top of MCMU's head was no longer a threat to Zi-Chen. This was like an ownerless house. MCMU was the first to arrive and was still a guest in the house. Since the owner was not around, they could use the things here at will. The eye that was activated earlier was considered a borrowing. On the other hand, Zi-Chen had comprehended the demon god's eye midway. That was a cultivation method that belonged to the demon god. It was equivalent to him becoming the owner of this house. Therefore, if MCMAU wanted to casually use his house's belongings, he would need the owner's permission. Zi-Chen blinked his eyes and said, "Disperse." The demon eye on top of MCMAU's head dispersed out of thin air. The demon god's power that belonged to it flew toward Zi-Chen and entered his eyes. MCMAU's body, which was in a combined state, was divided into two again. The demon god beast looked at Zi-Chen's eyes, its eyes full of fear. Although MCMAU did not sense anything strange, he sensed a strong sense of danger from Zi-Chen. How is this possible? He was shocked and looked at Zi-Chen in disbelief. Zi-Chen did not pay attention to MCMAU. Instead, he looked around. Finally, his gaze fell on the sky. With the demon god's eye, Zi-Chen already knew what was used in this hall. There was the power left behind by the demon god. The inheritance of this power was the demon god's eye. What a coincidence! Zi-Chen let out a sigh. If it wasn't the demon god's eye, but some other power, then he would really be in danger this time. Zi-Chen's gaze rested on Mo Wudu again. He said, "Don't feel like you've lost unjustly. In fact, you haven't lost unjustly at all. You may be able to beat others, but you definitely can't beat me, Zi-Chen." Zi-Chen smiled, and a ray of light appeared beside Zi-Chen. It was Spectre who had been hiding. Ghost stood on Zi-Chen's shoulder and stared at the fiend celestial beast. The fiend celestial beast, which was already terrified, instinctively let out a low roar. It was not a roar of intimidation, but a fear. That was an instinctive fear, as if a superior had descended, innately suppressing his aura. Mo Wudu's impact was much stronger than the fiend celestial beast's because the one standing in front was clearly the legendary fiend celestial beast. That was a real fiend celestial beast, an invincible battle pet belonging to the fiend celestial. Who was Zi-Chen? An 8-star with such combat strength and skills. Was he the reincarnation of the fiend celestial? Zi-Chen snapped his fingers lightly and Spectre opened its mouth and inhaled. The fiend celestial beast standing beside the demonic martial celestial beast fell limply to the ground. Its pure soul power was devoured by the spirit. Seeing this, Zi-Chen was even more certain that his Spectre was also a fiend celestial beast. Moreover, it was a fiend celestial beast of a higher grade. fiend celestial beast. This is a fiend celestial beast. Mo Wudu's subsequent exclamation also confirmed this point. At the same time, he also realized that his loss was not unjustly. It was just that his luck was too bad to have met Zichen. Zichen flew toward the sky. There was the inheritance left behind by the fiend celestial. Moreover, from the looks of it, he could still obtain it. Spectre inhaled again. This time, a strange soul energy landed on Mo Wudu's body. Mo Wudu, who was already injured, suffered a backlash from forcibly borrowing the demon god's power. He only resisted for a moment before collapsing. Just as his life faded away, the long robe on his body also became dull. The embroidery of the fiend celestial beast on it also disappeared. Zichen's body was shrouded in black light. This black light was the inheritance that Mo Wudu had previously obtained. However, Zichen had now comprehended the demon god's eye by chance, so this power would directly strengthen Zichen's demon god's eye. All the power gathered in Zichen's eyes and became the power of the demon god's eye. This was the pure demon god's power. Its grade was far superior to the royal power that Mo Wudu had previously used. This was the real opportunity. After the spectre devoured Mo Wudu and the fiend celestial beast, it stayed at the side to protect Zichen. After a while, all the power was devoured by Zichen. Although there was no change in his realm, Zichen had gained another remarkable ability. That was the demon god's eye. After using this technique, he was like a real devil. After obtaining the power of the inheritance, just as Zichen was about to leave, he unexpectedly discovered that there seemed to be something else in the sky. However, as he looked carefully, he did not really see it. Even when he used his soul energy to sense it carefully, he did not discover anything. This made him very surprised. Could it all be an illusion? At this moment, Zichen thought of a possibility and directly used the demon god's eye that he had just mastered. As he closed and opened his eyes, light appeared from the bottom of his eyes. Zichen's vision became different. The spectre in the distance looked in this direction with vigilance. At this moment, Zichen's aura underwent an obvious change. Although there was no scene of rolling demonic qi, his temperament had become extremely cold. Zichen saw a pair of eyes left in the sky. It seemed to be hidden in a hidden corner where time and space overlapped. Unless he used the demon god's eye, it would be impossible to see it. If he could not see it, he naturally could not get it. Zichen was very glad that he had discovered the abnormality in advance. Just as he saw that pair of eyes, the pair of eyes that seemed to have been thrown in the corner for countless years lit up. Their eyes met. Countless rays of light bloomed. Vaguely, there seemed to be a summoning force, as if someone was waving at the pair of eyes that lit up. The pair of eyes that had been sealed for many years left the corner, traveled through time and space, and arrived in front of Zichen. In the next moment, it sensed the aura of the same origin, so it immediately flew towards Zichen and entered his eyes. It was as if there were two red fireballs that entered Zichen's eyes. Zichen subconsciously closed his eyes, and two streaks of blood flowed down from the corners of his eyes. Chapter 42:25. The cold voice Zichen heard came from the devil, but it was just a voice left behind many years ago, so he couldn't tell Zichen's real identity. Killing the spirit was his first task, which showed how much the devil hated the spirit. Even under such circumstances, he didn't forget to remind the people who came after him. Zichen listened quietly and didn't make any response. At this moment, the eyes were being assimilated by Zichen. This was the devil's eye left behind by the devil. Of course, Zichen wasn't sure if this was the same pair of eyes the devil used to fight. Or it could be said that this was a special existence, similar to a soul weapon. Tears of blood flowed from the corners of the eyes, and there was a powerful force constantly attacking Zichen's mind, with a strong vibration of the soul. The aura around him became unstable. This situation lasted for a full quarter of an hour before it gradually calmed down. Zichen took a deep breath and wiped away the traces of blood and tears on his face. This time he had gained a lot. Before leaving, Zichen walked around the hall again to see if he could find anything else. He even used the devil's eye again, but he found nothing. Walking out of the hall, a passage appeared in front of him. Zichen walked in. Zichen appeared in the crowd. There were many people here, and they all stopped. Occasionally, there were flashes of brilliance around, and demons appeared one after another. Zichen spread out his soul power and saw the abnormality in front of him. There were countless demons, but they all stood there motionless like zombies. Everyone was outside, and so far no one had come forward. The people around were whispering. Some people were using rumors to discuss something. Zichen noticed Lu Zhen and asked, "What's the matter?" Lu Zhen had seen Zichen a long time ago, but she remembered Zichen's words, so she didn't dare to contact him. It is said that the devil's inheritance land is right in front of us, but it has been blocked by these creatures. Unlike before, there is no power to be gained from killing them this time. Plus, they are surprisingly strong. Everyone is waiting and no one has gone yet. "What about half-step holy venerables?" Zichen asked. "Not yet." At this moment, Lu Zhen had a question in his heart. What about MCMAU? The other party was quite famous and had a fiend celestial beast by his side. However, why did he disappear now? He wanted to ask, but he didn't dare. Lu Zhen recalled something and said, "There is a no-fly zone here. We can't fly over from above. If we want to go over, we can only kill our way out. Our Devil Snake Guard has already started to form an alliance. Are you coming?" Zichen did not agree immediately. He decided to wait and see. At this moment, a group of black-robed men moved. There were 12 of them, and they walked forward. A beam of light descended from the sky and landed in front of the 12 people. An uproar erupted in the surroundings, because a half-step holy venerable appeared. This half-step holy venerate who appeared punched forward. A resplendent fist light flew forward. Everywhere the fist light passed, demon race creatures died. In the blink of an eye, a straight and empty path appeared. The leading half-step holy venerable led the 12 black-robed men forward. They were the first to advance. The surroundings were in an uproar. Zichen's expression changed. Earlier, he clearly felt the demonic god's energy. Like Shaoqin, that half-step holy venerable had obtained a portion of the demonic god's inheritance. Based on the other party's attack, he should have obtained the demonic god's right arm. Only those who obtained the demonic god's inheritance could sense such an aura. Hence, Zichen decided to wait. At the same time, he wanted to see who obtained the demonic god's energy. After a while, another half-step holy venerable appeared. This time, he used the energy of his left arm. Unsurprisingly, 2 more people obtained the energy of the demonic god's leg. One of them was charging forward, like a machine that opened up a path. All the demons that came into contact with him would be sent flying by the powerful shockwave. That should be the energy of the demonic god's physical body. Those powerful half-step holy venerables all entered. The others were also eager to give it a try, and began to form groups to advance. Zichen waited for a while longer. Then, Lu Zhen sent out a second invitation. The demonic snake guards prepared to charge in. Zichen rejected the invitation. He believed that no one else would come at this time, so he decided to enter alone. Zichen walked forward alone. Moreover, he didn't conceal his cultivation level and aura at all. Guessing his intentions, many people looked at him strangely. In this place, even a half-step holy venerate would have to lead a team forward. Even when countless 9-star holy spirits formed teams, they would still be on tenterhooks. What more a mere 8-star holy venerable? Was he sending himself to his death? When Zichen moved, The others did not move. They all looked at Zichen, or rather, they were waiting for him to die before the others left. Lu Zhen also noticed this scene. However, she did not say anything. It was not that she believed that Zichen could pass, but that if she sent a voice projection, others might hear her and discover her relationship with him. Before the crowd's gazes, Zichen arrived at the edge. He was only 30 meters away from the demon race creatures in front. After those half-step holy spirits killed the demon race creatures and walked over, new demon race creatures would appear in that empty space. Now, it looked like there were still many of them. Zichen closed his eyes and his breathing calmed. His soul energy surged in his sea of consciousness and gathered in his eyes. Zichen opened his eyes and looked ahead. No energy appeared, but the demon race creatures standing there disappeared one after another. In the blink of an eye, a huge vacuum appeared. Cries of alarm rang out in the surroundings. The expressions of all the people waiting to see Zichen die changed. What kind of magic was this to kill so many with just a glance? Zichen walked into the vacuum. The demon race creatures that appeared here seemed to be testing everyone's strength. After he walked through the vacuum, the demon race creatures that disappeared earlier appeared again. They did not attack Zichen. Instead, they stayed where they were, quietly waiting for the second wave of enemies to arrive. Lu Zhen looked at Zichen's disappearing figure with a touch of expectation in her eyes. Perhaps this plan could really succeed. After smoothly passing through the test, Zichen saw a messy battlefield. The ground had collapsed, and there were huge cracks and ravines everywhere. In his field of vision, not even a blade of grass grew. This was a new battlefield, or rather, it was the previous battlefield, but it was moved here by someone with great magic power. In the center of the messy battlefield, there was a mountain peak. This mountain peak towered into the clouds, and it had a heavy aura. Apart from the mountain peak, everything else was in ruins. Those who came here before all went to the mountain peak. The sky restriction was still in place, so they had to climb to the top of the mountain. Chapter 42:26. The stone steps were made of special limestone. Each piece was very flat and of the same size. They were exquisitely crafted. As Zichen walked up the stone steps, he did not encounter any danger or test. This was very different from what he expected. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. Walking all the way here was already the biggest test. If not for the demonic god eye, it would have been very difficult for Zichen to make it through the countless demonic race creatures. As Zichen walked up the stone steps and looked down at the battlefield below, he seemed to see the great battle from back then. Someone split the ground with a saber strike. Someone split the sky with a sword strike. Someone shattered mountains. And someone exterminated life. This should be the ultimate battlefield, and the demon god might have fallen here. The group smoothly reached the summit. Then everyone stopped. There was a magnificent palace in front of them with the words demonic god written on it. Clearly, this was the demonic god palace. Everyone stopped in their tracks, not because of the majestic palace, but because of the skeleton in front of them. As the corpse stood there, it seemed to form a small world of its own. It gave off an intense sense of danger. Not far away, 3 people lay on the ground. They should have tried to force their way in earlier, but got killed by the corpse. Zichen looked at the corpse in front. The summoning came from the other party. Furthermore, Zichen felt a familiar aura from the corpse. If Zichen guessed right, this corpse should be the head of all the holy venerates of the spirit race, the lord that these people referred to. At this moment, there were many half-step holy venerates here. This made Zichen hesitate. He did not know whether he should go forward or not. After all, Shaochun was only an 8-star martial emperor. He did not want to attract too much attention. Just as Zichen hesitated, he saw a person walk forward. Zichen remembered this person. This was the person with the demonic god left arm. When Xiao Chen was only 30 meters away from the corpse, he suddenly punched. The demonic god's energy was activated. A dazzling fist light flew straight at the corpse in front of him. The other party's earlier attack opened up a vacuum among the demonic race creatures. Qi. The corpse started to light up. A sharp sword Qi shot out and instantly extinguished the fist light. At the same time, the sword Qi did not scatter and shot towards that half-step, Holy Venerate. The man's face fell, and he immediately retreated. Several defensive barriers appeared in front of him. However, it was useless. When these defenses met with the sword Qi, they were instantly shattered. Among them, there was even a high-quality defensive soul weapon. The sword Qi continued to press forward. The half-step Holy Venerate did not even have time to feel heartache. He could only retreat immediately. 2 men in black flew over and used their bodies to block the sword Qi. With 2 soft sounds, the 2 men's bodies were penetrated and they fell into a pool of blood. After exhausting the 9-star Holy Spirits and sacrificing their lives, the sword Qi finally weakened. When it approached the half-step Holy Venerate, the half-step Holy Venerate shattered it with a palm strike. The scene shocked the crowd. Ziqin stood there without moving. At that moment, there was only shock in his eyes. That was because the sword aura from before possessed the attribute of lightning. The reason why he found it familiar was because that person was a wholly exalted from the Lightning Clan, someone from the same clan as him. He did not expect that the one who led the group of Saint Venerables into the demon realm back then was actually the Thunder Clan's Saint Venerables. Furthermore, even after countless years, the remnant energy in this skeleton was still very strong. This showed how strong it was back then. If one wanted to enter the demonic Dao Palace, one had to get past the skeleton. That earlier sword strike even forced back a half-step Holy Venerate. Naturally, the others did not dare to go forward. However, this was only temporary. The temptation of the demonic god's inheritance was too great. The energy in this skeleton would eventually run out. If it really came to that, it would be almost impossible for Ziqin to bring anything back. The half-step Holy Venerates who obtained the inheritance already started communicating with each other, intending to work together. Ziqin no longer hesitated, directly walking forward. The moment he moved, he naturally became the center of attention. When the crowd sensed Xiao Chen's cultivation, they were stunned. Why is an 8-star Holy Venerate going forward? Before he even got close to the skeleton, Ziqin began to form a seal. His body was surrounded by demonic power. Is he seeking death? A half-step Holy Venerate frowned. If he activated the demonic energy now, it would only be seen as a provocation, completely enraging that skeleton. It would be fine if the skeleton died. However, it might even affect their progress. Just as the half-step Holy Venerate was about to stop the other party, the light of Ziqin's energy started to change. Sometimes it was demonic energy and sometimes it changed attributes. Oh, that half-step Holy Venerate felt somewhat surprised. It looks like this is some kind of magical technique that can change the attribute of energy. He intends to use this move to trick the skeleton. Another half-step Holy Venerate said. This was a minor magical technique that no one learned. The spiritual race who possessed spiritual energy had too low of a status in this world. However, this minor magical technique might be useful in the current situation. At this moment, Ziqin's energy kept changing. Furthermore, the frequency of it kept increasing, occasionally switching between 2 types of energy. Xiao Chen was getting closer to the skeleton. To the crowd, this was because Ziqin had not grasped this magical technique that changed the nature of energy. Once he got close to the skeleton and switched back to the original demonic energy, only death awaited him. All the demons held their breaths, nervously waiting for the next development of the situation. They had personally witnessed how powerful the skeleton was. If this 8-star Holy Spirit could really destroy it, they would be very happy to see it. Under everyone's nervous gazes, Zichen walked in front of the skeleton. The energy around his body flashed, changing from spiritual energy to demonic energy. Some people began to cry out in alarm. Perhaps they were about to die. But at this moment, the energy around Zichen's body changed again, from demonic energy to spiritual energy. At this moment, Zichen, who was forming hand seals, immediately pressed his hand against the skeleton. Whoa! In an instant, the skeleton began to tremble. Countless rays of light bloomed, dazzling and dazzling. The surrounding demons all closed their eyes. That spiritual energy, light, made them feel very uncomfortable. Zichen was not affected. He could see ahead. A person appeared in front of him. It was a middle-aged man. He stood in front of Zichen and stared at Zichen in a daze. In truth, he had been looking at Zichen the entire time. It was just that Zichen had not noticed. Zichen. The middle-aged man called out in a low voice. You know me? Zichen asked, puzzled. It really is you. It really is you. The middle-aged man sighed and said, I knew you weren't dead. You are Zichen. You can't die. Zichen explained, Senior, my name is indeed Zichen. However, I am not the Zichen you know. This time, I came because I felt Senior's call. Chapter 42:27. Zichen looked at the middle-aged man, not knowing what to say. The middle-aged man looked at Zichen and sighed, then smiled. Although I don't know what happened back then, I'm still very happy to see you here again. It seems that no matter what era you are in, no matter what you become, your unwillingness to be left out has never changed. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the demon realm. How did a spirit like you end up here? And how did you get along so well with the demon race? Although he was no longer an important person, he could still see Zichen's true identity. Zichen originally had questions to ask him, but he didn't expect him to ask first. Zichen truthfully told him what had happened and what he had seen along the way. The middle-aged man said, The spirit race's current situation has a lot to do with us. Back then, when we killed our way into this place, everything went smoothly and the demon race was forced to flee. Who would have thought that in the final battle, a powerful demon race expert would suddenly appear, leading a large group of saint sovereigns to attack us unprepared? That demon race expert called himself the demon god. In his words, he had already set up a big game of chess and was just waiting for us chess pieces to come in. As the middle-aged man spoke, the light on his body began to fade. He shook his head and smiled. It seems that I can't reveal too much, or else I'll suffer a backlash from the laws. In my current state, I can't resist the backlash from the laws. You were able to make it all the way here, which is not bad. You even obtained the demon god's eye. I'm sure no one in the demon race would dare to believe this, not even that arrogant guy from back then. The middle-aged man smiled. I'm actually looking forward to what you'll get next. If you can really take away that thing that guy left behind, then it'll be fun. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see it, so I can only place my hopes on you. Time is limited, so I use the last of my spirit energy to leave behind a technique. When you see it, don't look down on it. Once you learn it, it won't be any weaker than your lightning manipulation art. After he finished speaking, the middle-aged man pointed his finger at Zichen's glabella. Countless holy light diagrams bloomed, turning into a light spot between Zichen's eyebrows and entering Zichen's consciousness sea. Sword of lightning. This was the technique left behind by the senior. Just these 3 words sounded a little shabby, and it was much worse than the lightning controlling technique. But since the senior had specially instructed, Zichen took it to heart and decided to cultivate it when he had time. By the time he reacted and was about to express his gratitude, the senior's body had already dissipated. He had disappeared. He had disappeared from the world forever. There was no possibility of him coming back to life. Before he disappeared, he had left behind a spell but not a name. The group of demons looked at Zi-chan in shock. Just a moment ago, they were very worried about Zi-chan. Fortunately, his spell was somewhat special, and he was able to change his power in time. So he didn't die on the spot. The countless rays of light that were gathering at the center of his brows shocked many people. Could this be the inheritance left behind by the Spirit Clan saint? At this moment, the demonic light around his body started to circulate again, and a strong repulsive force appeared. Zi-chen's body flew backward, and he coughed up blood when he landed. At the front, the skeleton that could block a half-step Holy Venerate turned into dust and disappeared. The crowd was in an uproar again. Many demon experts smiled. As for the 8-star Zi-chen, no one paid any attention to him. After all, Zi-chen's cultivation level was too low. If he hadn't coincidentally grasped such a useless spell, he wouldn't have been qualified to receive the attention of so many experts. This was also what Zi-chen wanted to achieve. He wanted everyone to think that he was just lucky and that the blood he coughed up midway was not in vain. Without the skeleton blocking the way, everyone walked toward the demon god palace in front of them. Zi-chen was still at the back. He didn't fight with the others. When the senior disappeared, he revealed that there was something left behind by the demon god, but he didn't say what it was exactly. No one paid any attention to Zi-chen because it was very obvious that he had been forcefully pushed back in the end. He was destined to not be able to obtain the inheritance of the Spirit Clan saint. Even if he could obtain it, it would be useless to the demons. Furthermore, no one treated him as a threat because he was only an 8-star expert. After entering the demon god palace, no danger appeared. Everyone seemed to be taking a stroll, or perhaps they were here to look around. They walked into the demon god palace. Zi-chen was the last to enter. After he walked in, the door behind him closed on its own. Zi-chen's expression changed slightly. He looked around vigilantly, but nothing abnormal appeared. Furthermore, Zi-chen discovered that the others were the same as him. They were at a loss of what to do. In the outside world, the groups that were still trying to advance were pushed back by a powerful force after the Lightning Divine Palace closed. After they returned to their original positions, the demon creatures that were originally in charge of testing them all disappeared. At the same time, a light screen appeared in the sky, as if it had divided the world into two, blocking everyone on one side. The resources of the demon god no longer had anything to do with the people present. Many people were disappointed and sighed because this was probably the only chance they would have in their lives. Lu Jin did not care. His harvest this time was not small. After returning, even if he could not become a half-step Saint Venerable, his strength would at least improve. He might even be able to become a royal. Right now, the only thing he was looking forward to was Zi-chen. As long as Zi-chen could destroy their plan, it would be a great merit. When the door of the palace closed and everyone was on high alert, a huge picture scroll appeared above their heads. The picture scroll showed a messy battlefield. On this battlefield, there were people fighting. Or rather, it was the Spirit Clan and the Demon Clan fighting. The Spirit Clan were all invaders. Their fighting strength was extremely powerful. Looking at the battlefield, everyone was probably a Saint Venerable. With so many Saint Venerables gathered together, the picture was extremely shocking. However, the battle shown in the picture was not very optimistic. Demon experts were killed one after another. The battle was practically one-sided. How despicable. Our demon clan is fighting openly. However, those Spirit Clan members are actually helping and colluding with each other, a demon clan member said disdainfully. A demon who couldn't stand the sight of the battle said with dissatisfaction. A few people at the side nodded in agreement, cursing the shamelessness of the Spirit Clan. Zi-chen could clearly see that the Spirit Clan member that the Demon Clan member spoke of killed 2 Demon Clan Holy Venerables by himself. After that Spirit Clan member was injured, a spirit clan member came to treat him. As far as Zichen knew, the combat prowess of the demon clan was higher than that of the spirit clan. This was not just the case in the demonic world, but also in the Holy Spirit realm. However, based on the current picture, it would not be difficult for these spirit clan members to kill 2 demon clan members of the same cultivation level each. The scene continued. The devil race suffered heavy casualties. This made many people unable to bear it. After all, the spirit race had always been the lowest level existence in their eyes. However, in this scene, the lowest level spirit race was actually beating their Saint Venerables to the point that they didn't have any temper. Saint Venerables were killed one after another. Furthermore, this picture seemed to be real. Occasionally, one could hear the arrogant laughter of the spirit clan members, as well as their curses. Little demon clan members die. Do you think that you will not die if you hide in your nest? You dare to invade our spirit clan with your puny cultivation? Die. Weak little demon clan member. Your bare body is so handsome that it is ugly. When the demon clan members heard these voices, they started cursing. Some people even shouted, "If you have the ability to show up now, I will definitely make you die without a complete corpse." The clamoring crowd seemed to have forgotten that they had been blocked by that skeleton that had died countless years ago. If they could not even defeat a skeleton, how could they be a match for these living existences? Many angry demon clan members started cursing the owner of this picture. Did he bring out this picture to let them know how their ancestors had been humiliated in front of the spirit clan and how weak they were? Suddenly, a cold voice rang out. "Spirit clan, since you have voluntarily walked into my trap, then don't leave." The moment this voice appeared, the temperature in the hall seemed to drop by a lot. The demon clan members who had been cursing earlier all shut their mouths and kept quiet out of fear. It was clearly the voice of the picture, but it affected all the holy spirits. The expressions of those who had received the inheritance of the demon god changed, including Zichen, because that was the voice of the demon god. He had already heard it once before. There was no trace of the demon god in the picture, but many demon clan holy venerables appeared. After they appeared, they charged towards the spirit clan members. Their combat strength might not be strong, but they had the advantage in numbers. They began to work together, ganging up on one spirit clan member. At this moment, the spirit clan members were suppressed by the many demon clan members. No demon clan member said that these people did not have the spirit to fight one-on-one. Unsurprisingly, the spirit clan members died one after another. At this moment, the demon god's voice rang out again. "Not only will I kill all of you here, but I will also use the formation here to refine your corpses. They will become nourishment for my demon clan descendants. F*CK, your mother's ass. Even if I disappear from this world, I will not let you demon clan members get away with it." A huge spirit clan beast spoke in a human voice. He laughed loudly. "I've killed too many of your holy venerables. My death is worth it." Faced with the siege, this spirit clan beast was no match for them. He died on the spot, but his corpse still towered between the heavens and the earth, not collapsing. Even in death, he still stood tall. Whoosh! A bolt of lightning sword chi shot into the sky, as if it wanted to split the picture in two. Below the picture, a high-spirited middle-aged man stood up, sword in hand. He was the senior Zichen had met before. He was also the leader of the spirit clan this time. He stood in the sky and said indifferently, "Use whatever means you have. If you want us holy venerables to help you demon clan, I, Lei Yutian, will be the first to disagree." A bolt of lightning sword chi shot into the sky, and the picture began to shake. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.